And welcome, my friends. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am, of course, Omar Krieg, your Lord and Commander of the Krieg Dominion, and your host for tonight's events. You can also call me the Storyteller, the Game Master, whatever, I don't care. This is Second Star, a Traveler 2300 role-playing experience, Season 2, Episode 4, Barrier. Apparently, I didn't change that particular paragraph in my notes. Whatever. Doesn't matter. It's not important right now. As always, I am joined by my three castmates slash players of eccentric characters. And we'll go ahead and give them a moment to introduce themselves, bring us up to speed on what's new and exciting in their worlds, as well as maybe just a brief rundown or recap or something about their character, maybe something new. I don't know. We'll see. You never know what you get with these guys. Charles, as always, we start with you.
I'm Charles. I play Fritz Hellwig, the former colonial police officer slash intelligence agent, and excuse me. And the only thing new I really have is a friend of mine just shipped me a new game, which I'm trying to figure out, which is Space 1899, and I'm just rolling around in its awesomeness.
That
Oh,
sounds vaguely familiar. Where have I heard that before? This is not a
So,
joke
so,
or a plug or anything. I
so
literally have heard this before. I just don't remember where.
it's a GDW game.
Okay.
And then somebody else picked it up. So imagine like Mars, Mercury, and Venus are all like habitable planets.
Right.
Thomas Edison and Jules Verne and a few other famous scientists like Curies and stuff like that found that there's this ether, and they basically built ships, and it's like colonialism and Tarzan exists and John Carter of Mars exists, and but they're not really Tarzan and John Carter of Mars. They're like
They're analogs.
they're analogs, yeah, heavily sanded, as my friend wrote in my notes
Yeah.
to me,
Yeah.
you know. And so I'm rolling around in that goodness. He sent me 2 copies of the rule books and some adventure books and some combo stuff. So I traded away a couple other reading books I have to him for those, but I am trying to read through them and figure them out. And maybe if I get a chance to get some people together, we may locally near me and try to play it. So
Yeah,
because it looks awesome.
I must have seen that in a hobby shop. I feel like where I got that from, or the reference or whatever you want to call it, was
Yeah.
the hobby shop in my hometown when I was, a teenager first stepping off into the world of role playing games.
Right.
And the impression I got was somehow like it's basically the Wild Wild West essentially, but also there's space.
Yep.
And
Yep.
Granted, at the time I was so deep in D&D, I kind of like dismissed it offhandedly. But as soon as you mentioned it, I was like, wait a minute, I know I've heard this before.
Yeah. I mean, I remember playing it years ago when I was in high school and middle school, and it's awesome, just in the sense of like, take your most tropey colonialism, early turn of the century type of stuff,
Right.
and just you got green aliens, red aliens from like John Carter of Mars books, the Barsoom series, whatever, Tarzan running around, and weird like steampunk science going on, and you're just
Yeah.
like, oh my god.
so as happenstance allows, I'm currently in an 1899 game.
Oh wow.
Somehow I'm not surprised by this, and yet I'm also kind of like, okay, that's really awesome. I don't know why that
Yeah.
is though. But that's cool.
So yeah, so a friend of mine happened to stumble into it all at a used bookstore where he's living, and he's like, "Dude, I got to get this to you." So he turned around and shipped it out to me, and I'm like, just enjoying the awesomeness that it is.
The art for the people in it are horrendous.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, it sounds like if my memory serves, this is something that was probably written in the I'm just gonna go with early to mid '80s, and a lot of art in role playing games back then was basically black and white line drawings, unless it was a cover edition. Not a cover edition, but like a cover piece.
1889 has color art, but the art itself is bad.
Oh, okay.
The art for like ships and guns is better, but the art for people, no, not good, not bueno, no bueno.
Yeah, I mean, stick figures would look better, but really, whatever. So yeah, that's what I got going on. And then life is life, and it's like it's already September and it's already almost the middle of September. So I'm like,
Yeah, no.
oof.
Yeah, September is just zinging by, and I think what I was thinking about this last weekend. I was like, holy crap! Like, actually, no, this would have been about this time last week. I had this thought. I was like, holy crap! September is already, damn near a week in, and I think part of the reason for that is because the first landed on a Friday, and then I almost said Memorial Day, but I always get Memorial Day and Labor Day confused. It's Labor Day, but yeah, that big holiday, the traditional end of summer and all that. Yeah, and now here we are. We're a week later, and it's like, holy crap, we're halfway through September already. So, alrighty. Well, that takes us next to the other 1899 aficionado, Agent Wiggles, with 3 G's for some strange reason.
Oh, the third G stands for gallant.
Gallant. Honestly, I'm not even joking when I say this. I was literally thinking earlier today, if we turned this into a bit, every week it's something new. Because for like the last 3 or 4 weeks, it's something new for that third G. And so I was wondering, I wonder what the third G is going to be today. And today, it's gallant. Anyways, please, Agent Wiggles.
I'm in a space 1899 game, but just for a private game among friends, and I made a British nobleman. And we're on Mars, and we're going to go off into the middle of the Martian desert. We're going to go find an ancient tomb. Should be fun. Should be fun. Animals travel incredibly slowly in space 1899. There's no rules, so the only reference in the rules for overland speed when you're taking animals is if you're paying for transportation, and animals only go 10 miles a day. Even though they have horses on Mars, and horses travel at a walk 4.5 miles.
Yeah, you can get a horse to do 20 miles a day without.
Right. Yeah. No.
Before I finish that statement, let me clarify. I'm not a horse guy, but I do know you can get a horse to carry you for about 20 miles a day, probably pretty easily.
Yeah. No. Animals in 1889 travel extremely slowly. So I'm not really sure what's going to be up with that. But anyway, yeah, no, Space 1889. I've also been playing in a long-term GURPS Dark Fantasy game, which is actually coming to a close. So
Dark
that's a nice thing.
Fantasy?
That's rarity. Yeah, we're playing this GURPS version D&D. And and we've been playing this Viking campaign. It's actually coming to a close. We've been playing how long have we played the Viking game? 3 years now? Yeah, 3-ish years, and it's coming to a close for 2.5, 3 years. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, anyway, this is one that I've been role playing for a long time, and I don't have very many long-term campaigns that actually get completed. They generally stall out, or we get bored, or whatever.
They fizzle out for any one of number of reasons.
Is that standard though? Per rules?
Is it standard? I mean, is that what happens? Yes. Is that the standard? No, not really.
I have a story. The worst time that's ever happened to me, the one that I'm still mad about. We were playing. We were doing this Final Fantasy-esque game using Thrash, probably a game system no one's ever heard about.
I'm curious to know, but please go ahead.
And so we were doing the big high fantasy, JRPG inspired, Final Fantasy inspired game. A lot of our friend group in high school, we were all playing 2 or 3 characters. Most of us were playing one villain and one hero character, and it was going really well. And then this is gonna make me sound shitty, but it's not because she's a girl. It's just she destroyed the game. So our GM's girlfriend decided just to fucking stop playing the game, and that ruined it entirely. And I'm still pissed about it to this day. So her character was the one. She was the one that had the prophecy for then the world was going to happen. She was going to have the big crystal MacGuffin thing that needs to be activated at the end of the story in order to make the good guys win. That was her character's role in the story.
Oh.
So when she decided to just stop playing, I was just make her an NPC, and he was like, nah.
That's rough. That's rough. It always does suck, and I think it happens a lot
It's
to.
not because she's a girl. I just want to make that clear.
No, I
Not
hear you
because
though.
she's a girl. She just happens
but
to
when
be the
you
girl
have
from the
a
GM that it happened.
when you have a key player like that drop out, it can. I mean, anytime you have a player just drop out like that, it can be disruptive as hell. And then when it's a key player, for one reason or another, and they drop out, and yeah, no, it sucks. It really sucks. You got anything else?
I'm going to be running Mysterious of the Ancients, a published traveler adventure.
Yes.
I've never actually GM'd a published campaign before, so that's going to be a first time for me.
That'll be interesting. Sure.
Yeah.
I think I've run published adventures, but I always like to. I don't know. I think one of the biggest problems I've always had with I shouldn't say a problem. I guess the difficulty I run into is I want to create my own story, so I'll gladly take from published material, but I don't want to rely on it. And sometimes, depending on what that material is and what the story you either want to tell or currently have going, it can be difficult to integrate the two into one relatively seamless experience. And I think you guys will start to see that here shortly if you're familiar with the source material that I'm pulling from right now for this next couple sessions. Anyway, I kind of lost my train of thoughts because my brain is running in 7 directions at once, like always. That takes us now to Thurgor. Thurgor, I have one question for you.
Uh-huh.
What's the weather like in your part of the world today?
It's cold.
Cold. Define cold, because you're in a part of the country where if it's cold, it might be freezing for the rest of us.
Yeah, it's not that cold. It's like 52 this morning when I was walking to work.
Oh no, not 52.
Yeah, no.
It was like 60 this morning, but it was actually a little bit warmer than it
Well,
has been the last
that's
few.
good. Heck
Well,
yeah.
it was so the last few days it's been like 50 to 55, and then today it was like 60. But yeah. Anyways,
coming
please
down.
enlighten us. What's new in your world? What maybe a little recap or something about your character or whatever you want to, whatever random letters you want to claim in the alphabet.
Well, I started back to work this week. I had all the last week off,
Mhm.
playing the heck out of Starfield. I have managed to get up to, I don't know exactly. I think it's probably the last mission in the main story. I'm up to the big fight with the bad guys. Let's just leave it at that. I did tell them to all go stuff it up their behinds at one point, so now I have to fight all of them at one time instead of one of them.
May have been a mistake.
Possibly, but I don't know. It's just what my gut felt.
The mistake I've run into, and I don't want to detract too much from your time here, but I've been playing the shit out of Starfield as well where I can, which other than a non-work night is something like an hour or 2 at a time. Anyway, so I'm like literally going from solar system to solar system, going and then from planet to planet, moon to moon, to just kind of do like the basic scan and get the resources listed and all that. The problem I have run into though is sometimes when I jump into a system, there's pirates fighting one of the major factions, and in the process it'd be like, all right, bet I need to work on kill so many ships or something like that.
Yep.
In the process of that, I apparently missed the pirate and hit the friendly, and then all of a sudden everybody on my scope is red, and I'm like, well, shit. So now I have a bounty on at least one system because this was the fight that I actually won and killed everybody.
It's called save scrumming.
Yes, but I don't like doing that if I don't have to.
Yeah, I remember that was a big issue back in No Man's Sky. Anytime there'd be the attacks and they're attacking some freighter, one stray round hits that freighter, and you can forget it at that point.
Yeah, no, because I know like in oh god, Elite Dangerous, if you tag one of your friendlies a couple of times, they'll come across on your comms and be like, hey, I'm friendly, stop shooting at me. But if you do it a few more times, then they're like, all right, fuckhead, I guess it's game on, I'm gonna kill you too. Anyways, please continue with your intro bit.
So Joseph is still wanting to make sure that Flex is held accountable for what they've done. So he's still doing his best for all of that. And throughout the rest of the entire campaign, that will probably be revisited upon and revisited upon.
Revisit
bringing
upon ad
in.
nauseum, I hear.
Now, this might make it a little difficult for Joseph. I don't know yet. He pisses
Oh,
enough people off with enough press conferences and everything. He might
I've
have
had
to
a
be
few
looking over his
ideas.
shoulder a little bit.
I've had a few ideas on directions that this may go.
Uh-huh.
I'm
So I'm
already,
aware, but
but
maybe we'll get lucky and they'll send Briggs after me and then we can settle up. Um,
there it is. Jason A. Briggs, former captain of the Wayfinder, is the big bad at the end of the game. He's the boss fight.
oh, it doesn't have to be. It could just be you started this problem, you go take care of it, and then so he has to come
Yeah.
and take care of it. But hey, I'll
Meanwhile,
still
I'm over
come to
here.
that one.
Meanwhile, I'm sitting over here like, how do I design an entire faction to be the big bad? This guy's like, no, I just want him.
Oh man.
All right. Well, obviously, I'm Omar Krieg. I've been playing Starfield. I've been working my ass off. I've been putting together and running the Greyland Trios League, which we just had our first match for week 3 of our current season. That video went live this morning. Check it out if you're into that. I'm into it. It was a great fight. I didn't actually play. I got to watch, but I asked a bunch of interview questions, so that was fun. Let's see what else is new with me. That's about it. I got a weird idea up my ass, or whatever you want to call it. In the last day or so, something about a mercenary group in a traveler setting. So now I'm looking at possibly acquiring that mercenary box set. Unfortunately, I just looked at it. It was like $80. It's like, I'm gonna have to plan ahead. I can't just impulse buy that motherfucker. Let me see. Wiggles is of course blowing up chat. I'm not entirely sure. He's talking about his character in the high fantasy Final Fantasy take. What else is going on in my world? My cat is crazy. My cat had a seizure last week. That actually was quite unexpected. Real quick story on that, just so people don't get like weirded out or anything. I knew before getting this cat that he had had seizures earlier this past year. But they had, from my understanding, it only happened a few times, and after a little while, like they'd just gone, and had him since mid-June. So basically, almost 3 months at this point. Never had any problems for several months, and all of a sudden, I'm in my room watching TV. I think I was watching Foundation, in fact. And all of a sudden, I hear this blood-curdling scream come out of my cat in the living room, and I'm like, "What the shit was that?" At first, I thought it was cats outside, because sometimes that happens, but no, it was my cat in my house. I go out here, and he's having his little seizure, and I'm like, oh, well, I guess, as it turns out, seizures just, they don't go away forever, evidently. He's fine, for those that are curious, of course. He was fine, probably about 5 or 10 minutes later. The seizure didn't last terribly long. It was just quite unexpected for me. And that was the first time I've ever had to experience anyone or anything having a seizure. But he was pretty cool with me hanging out with him while I was going through it, I guess. So we got lovey-dovey after that. That sounded really bad the way I phrased it. He definitely wanted more cuddles from me that night. I'll put it that way. Because he went and shortly after he got done and had a little bite to eat, he came and laid down next to me for the rest of the night. So, anyways, what else? I think that's about it. I guess we should get going because we're like almost 20 minutes into the video and we haven't even really started doing much yet. So, previously on Second Star, after being held separate from the rest of the crew of the Wayfinder, and then later removed to the surface of Beowulf, a number of former crewmates are released from active service with Flex. While they have some finances available to them, their priority shifts to finding suitable housing and food while looking for steady employment. One option has presented itself, a meeting with one Iron Mike Tankerson, a merchant peddling and gift shop memorabilia who appears to have a side hustle or two as well. In this meeting, an opportunity is further presented by way of the Barrier Aerospace Company, for whom the characters have an offer to make. Our opening scene begins in an office not unfamiliar to us, and two officers having a brief conversation about work schedules and rotations. One officer, a man wearing admiral's bars on his sleeves and shoulder boards. The other is a woman with captain's bars. A third officer enters the office in a rush, a younger lieutenant commander. You have to see this, he exclaims as he motions towards a monitor, even as he changes the link browser to a new server site. You can't just barge in, the Admiral begins, but is immediately cut off. On the screen, a man sits before a small meeting table. Across that table from him are 3 young to middle-aged women, each with a Link tablet, leaning in towards the man slightly. We can't hear what is being said, not yet, but it's very clear that the man on the screen is none other than Joseph Milligan, former pilot for the Flex Starship FLS Wayfinder. How old is this video? The captain asks. Old, the lieutenant commander replies, confused. This isn't old. It's live. And that takes us right into your press conference there, Thurgor. I hope you really appreciate that opening sequence, because initially, for the viewers who don't know, when I prepped this episode the other day, I totally spaced the, no pun intended, by the way, I totally spaced the press conference. So our very first scene was supposed to be something totally different. And then I remembered, oh shit, press conference. So I just had to squeeze something in there, and not even going to lie, that last opening sequence was typed up about 20 minutes before we started tonight. So, on that note, Mr. Thurgor, if you could take us into your spiel. You posted something like 7 or 8 images in Discord the other day.
Uh-huh.
It sounds like you already have something of a speech ready to go.
Yep.
So
I
please,
sure do.
before you do,
I just said,
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Let me introduce you to your 3 women that are currently there to interview you. You have Trish Tanaka of Vixen Media, and I know what that sounds like. I want to be clear before I go further. A Vixen, if I remember correctly, is a fox pup. Or maybe it's a female fox pup. I'm not sure. Either way,
it's a female.
It's a female fox. And then we have Mura Brown of The Independent, a news affiliate based in Aliceport. And then we have Barbie Walker, a journalist intern at a local news outlet radio station, BKBC. And yes, those names were chosen on purpose. Please continue. You get extra points if you figure out where they're from.
All right, so I had one quick question for Wiggles, though, before we got started. Back when we were running sensor sweeps for the stealth ship, and you ran that little contest, with the sensor operators to see who could, possibly find the stealth ship out there in the world. And we did pick up.
Clever of me.
What's that?
That was so clever of me. I'm really happy with that.
I forgot all about that.
We did pick up the stutter warp signature, right?
So on the day that I started doing that contest is the same session where everything went to hell.
Okay, so we don't have a copy of that.
No, I did. There was no. When I started that thing, that's when everything went to hell. Unfortunately,
that's fine.
I was gonna. So my idea was I was gonna do a contest for the sensor operators to find either the furthest faintest signal they can find, and whoever found the furthest faintest signal, they would get a bonus pay. So my goal was for them to have constantly searching for a stealth ship without them looking for a stealth ship.
Yeah, no, it was fucking brilliant, and I was a little upset with myself, by the way, that I forgot about that until you brought it up just now, Theodore.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we didn't have the data. I was unsure if anybody had a copy of that data.
Unfortunately, nothing came fruition because we didn't have any time.
Okay.
But it would have been cool.
It would have been cool.
Yep. Yeah,
Your
to lay
GM
that
can
right
be
in
a
their hands.
dick, though, from what I hear. Anyway.
So the press conference goes as follows.
Yeah.
Welcome all. Glad you could all make it here today. My name is Joseph Milligan, and until recently, I was senior pilot on the flex ship The Wayfinder. I've called you all together here to air an injustice done to a large number of the crew of the Wayfinder by the parent corporation. But there is much more to the story. This press conference is not only being held to relay the details that led to said injustice, but to also show the Flex Corporation's illegal and dehumanizing actions in the aftermath. I will also be sending you all of my supporting evidence so that it can be independently verified and used how you see fit. The story actually began before my assignment to the Wayfinder. You all have heard about the terrorist bombing of the Tyrane Interplanetary Station. We have found camera footage of the perpetrator who placed those charges, and it appears to be none other than the previous captain of the Wayfinder, Jason A. Briggs. I will come back to this point. After I received my posting on the Wayfinder, a small cadre of dedicated crew began to notice odd comms deleted from the buffers, and they made a plan to try to intercept these messages. And we were successful. Those messages will be provided to you, both in their original form and our decryption efforts. It became apparent that the terrorist organization, the Empire of Mankind, had at least one operative on our ship. As we traveled through the arm, we also began getting numerous ephemeral sensor hits that could only be explained as we were being tailed by a stealth ship. Due to all of that, and some strange behavior and absences of Captain Jason A. Briggs at different stations, we began to suspect that he might be the agent, but we did not have definite proof. A chance encounter with somebody on, and I'm fixing to butcher this myself, Nibelungen,
Close enough.
who provided us with the aforementioned video. In it, someone wearing Captain Briggs' vac suit was seen placing the explosives that damaged the Tyran station. Then came the attack on Innsbruck station. When the attack occurred, our captain did not answer the call to provide aid until a plea from the crew went up, as there were members with family on that station. Our ship's troops, aided by the constabulary of the station, were used to help end the terrorist standoff. Again, there was sensor activity regarding a stealth ship, which is how the terrorists' own video feed got off of that station. The last of the messages we received caused us to want to take action against the captain, but he had plans of his own. As we were running a diversionary emergency drill, Captain Jason A. Briggs and his engineering accomplice, Morgan Randall, set off a destructive device in engineering, which took away our ability to control the ship. He used the diversion to exit the Wayfinder with his accomplice, and they fled on the stealth ship that had been shadowing us. Captain Jason A. Briggs and Morton Randall definitely seemed to be part of the Empire of Mankind, actively engaging in terrorism in the arm to further their own agenda, whatever that may be. At that moment, with our superior officer having proven himself to be a terrorist, we had no idea how many other upper echelon flex officers were also involved. This had been on our mind throughout the data gathering process as well, and is what prevented us from making the accusations earlier that we could not prove at that time. What happened next is the second set of events. The crew of the Wayfinder worked feverishly to gain back a small amount of control to the ship. Finally, we were able to exert limited control of the stutter warp and attitude of the ship, and I piloted it safely into Gabriella Davies Memorial Station.
Word butter was used. I just want to point that out.
Yeah, I didn't want to like brag though. I just wanted to get my name attached to it, but not brag.
A humble brag, if you will.
That's right. It's passive aggressive bragging.
Yeah. Sorry for interrupting. Please continue.
That's all right. In doing so, we prevented a 400-ton spacecraft from impacting Beowulf. Those 27 crew members were rewarded by forcibly being taken prisoner by Flex, a civilian corporate entity, and separated. These actions were highly illegal and violated our human rights. Not only were we detained, but we were accused of crimes we didn't commit, and we were interrogated. Some of the crew were even physically assaulted. We provided our captors with the account of the sabotage of the Wayfinder and informed them that the two people responsible they did not have in custody. Our captors knew that our detention was illegal, and if they had had actual charges to press, they should report them to law enforcement and have them detain us if there was merit. But they knew there wasn't merit. They knew what they were doing was not legal. A partial list of those directly involved in the illegal decisions and actions against the Wayfinder crew include, and this is for the 3 viewers out there, by the way, Admiral Zachariah McTaggart, and I do air quotes when I say Admiral, and I do it again when I say Lieutenant Commander Irving Bryson, and various corporate security forces. I say, and
Sorry.
yes, Flex has what they call and I do this in air quotes again, Admiralty Board, where the members have military style rank and obviously a great deal of assumed authority. We were held on the station for about 3 days. I couldn't be sure of the exact time as we had no access to information outside of our individual rooms. At that point, they put some of us on a lander and took us what seemed to be a black ops site planetside. There we were held for 4 more days, again, illegally. Our XO, a native spacer, was held planetside with no accommodations for the medical issues that the gravity would cause him. Medical assistance was asked for, but was not provided. In the end, 9 crew members were fired from Flex, labeled as having committed crimes while employed, and dismissed. They presented us with an NDA to sign. You will receive a copy of that as well. Very few, if any, signed it. Flex was obviously looking for scapegoats to either cover their own duplicity or to deflect from their own incompetence and having hired actual terrorists, Jason A. Briggs and Morton Randall. At this point, it's anyone's guess as to how involved Flex is with the empire of mankind. They obviously view themselves to be above the law with their, air quotes, admiralty, acting as if they are the prevailing civil law, which isn't really a far step off of how the empire of mankind operates. This press conference was called for you to take and further investigate all the evidence that I'm putting in your hands today, to hopefully bring pressure onto Flex so that they adequately pay for such horrible and flagrant human rights violations. Their executives should be brought to trial and made to answer for the actions of their corporation. A deep level probe should be made by actual law enforcement to determine if Flex is indeed associated with the terrorist organization, Empire of Mankind. Any questions?
First, I want to, as the GM, I want to recognize Thurgor putting that all together and his presentation of it. And I realize we only have audio. We don't have any video to go along with it. But Thurgor spent the better part of at least a day or two putting all that together with some input from me to help fill in the blanks, specifically names and more or less timelines. But Thurgor, thank you for putting all that in there. That was a really nice touch, and I really appreciate that insofar as the story is concerned. Speaking of questions, I think the first thing that comes up is, and I'm just going to pick names at random because I totally made them up. There's no prior planning with designing these individuals. Trish Tanaka, Vixen Media, stands up and says, Mr. Milligan, you've mentioned stealth ships several times. It's my understanding that given today's current technology, stealth in space isn't really very, I don't know what the right word is, applicable, much application. I realize, of course, I don't have the military background that perhaps you or some of your fellow crewmates or others in Flex might have had, but are we reaching, would we say, stealth here? I feel like maybe we are.
I don't believe so. Now, ships don't come with a switch on them, and I'm going to try to keep this as brief as possible. Stealth in space is all about heat and being able to hide what heat you produce. There are products out now to allow you to, at least temporarily, for the course of a few hours, hide your heat signature, provided your ship doesn't already put out an excess of heat. So that heat can be banked inside a ship that keeps its heat signature almost nothing. And in that way, yes, for a limited amount of time, a ship can be stealth.
I see. So I guess presumably, if you were to be followed by such a ship, obviously radio signals, other transmissions would have to be to a minimum, and then it would, at that point, it would indeed be a matter of heat management, both in design and actual practice in the, well, I'm going to say field, maybe in the star field.
I smile at her and I say, exactly.
Interesting. And you have proof of this stealth ship? Do you have any sort of recordings, sensor signatures, thermal band signature, maybe?
Well, while I was able to get a lot of our early investigative documents off of the ship, when we were seized, unfortunately, Flex sees the sensor data that we had. And so I do not have that to provide to you. But at some point, we had at least a partial stutter warp signature for that ship.
Interesting. And now, in my last question, sorry, and of course, for a moment, Trish will look at the other two and be like, sorry, I'm taking up so much time here. You mentioned a stealth ship at Innsbruck, and that was the method by which they were able to get video off of the station and then later disperse it. As we all know, of course, about a week or so ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, I forget the exact timeline at this point, their propaganda video of what actually happened at Innsbruck. Can you verify that there was actually nobody? This is the first any of us are hearing of it. It was our understanding that this information was actually smuggled off the station by, I guess, for lack of a better word to call it, low-grade thugs, physically leaving the station aboard a vessel and then later releasing that information on a low band.
Didn't that happen at a much quicker timeline than that?
Yeah, out of character.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
out of character, what she said is the official news, not
Right.
necessarily the idea that there may have been a stealth ship nearby.
Right. So being that we were there at the station at the time of the event and saw the news report come out, it came directly off of that station. And the only way for the team that was on the station to be able to do that was to have a ship nearby to relay that message out. We did catch the same sensor pings after that event that we surmised was the stealth ship leaving. But they had already released that information. To my understanding, not one single terrorist that stormed that station got off of that station that wasn't under the custody of the French authorities by the time it was all said and done.
Was it French or was it German?
Well, it was a German
No, it was a
station.
German
It wasn't
station, but it was the
French.
French that intervened. Okay,
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
All right. Yeah, sorry, that was a failing on my part. All right, I was writing down a bunch of questions while you were doing your little diatribe there. Let me mark the ones I have already asked so I don't repeat them. I think at this point, then, Mura Brown of The Independent, which is the local news affiliate based here in Aliceport, will stand up and will ask, Mr. Milligan, you mentioned somebody provided video of the person that actually implanted the explosive devices used on the Terrain Interplanetary Station. Who was that provided that information? Are they a credible source? I don't know if I said that word correctly, but I think you get where I'm going with that. Credible? Yeah,
ideally, we personally didn't view them as a credible source. There were so many things going on at that time that we could not trust, that we weren't going to necessarily trust this individual either. But we also weren't going to turn down at least trying to get a look at what they had. And so we managed to make a deal with them. They provided us with the video. We have yet to get it fully corroborated that it's, authentic. We just haven't had time, to do that since we had been on the ship. That is something that definitely, when I give y'all copies of this, that you are free to do.
Do you have this individual's name?
Do I?
I think I gave it to you. I'm not sure.
Notes? Why would we take notes?
Well, see, I spent most of my
I
time.
just don't remember which one of. So I had, just for the record, I have a separate Word document for each episode. I don't remember which episode that is, and I don't have that name available to me right this second.
Whatever his name was,
Uh-huh.
I thought it was Morton Randall. So it must have been something kind of close to the same.
No, Morton Randall was one of the engineers on the ship.
Right.
There was Cloud Bardeen, I believe, if my memory is working correctly, without looking at my notes. Bardeen was the XO, and then it was a German. Oh, Roland Hartman, I think. Actually,
Roland Hartman.
Remember, I sent you that name, and I think it was him. I think it was Hartman. He was one of the. I want to say he was a steward as part of the previous crew, and then once he knew that the XO was about to get arrested or whatever, he was like, "Yeah, no, I'm not coming back. I'm leaving." And he was the one that tried to break a deal with the XO when he got his dirt bike, but didn't get a chance to ride it.
Right. So I'm just going to tell them, that I haven't been able to talk to this individual since all these events happened. I'm only just recently out of custody. Before I release his name in a public, you know,
Venue.
right, like this, I would want to at least have a talk with him first.
See, and insofar as his credibility, you said he was I forget now. Did you say he was a former member of the crew, or just that an unknown person?
He had been a former member of the crew. Before I came on board, the crew was in somewhat of an upheaval. They were replacing several people. They replaced the XO. When I came in, I was replacing the senior pilot. I caught word from the crew that the XO had been pulled off of the ship for double dipping or doctoring the books or keeping 2 copies of the books, whatever it was. But with as much as happened since then, it really makes me wonder if the previous XO wasn't also catching wind that there wasn't something quite right with Captain Briggs, and that's why he wound up getting removed from the ship. I
That's an
definitely hope
interesting
Flex
take.
is going to treat him fairly with this new evidence having come forward.
And what
But
was
at
the?
this point, I
I'm
rather have
sorry.
my
Go ahead.
doubts.
And what was the former XO's name? Do you have that?
I don't know that I mean, I know
It
it.
is.
My
Yeah.
character knows
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I don't know it because it's not
Okay.
on my little sheet of crew
Yeah.
here.
No worries. I think Mira Brown will just be like, oh, don't if you don't have it available, I'm sure we can find it. And she'll look over to like one of her assistants, like somebody holding a camera or a microphone or some dumb shit like that. And she's like, we can get it right. Yeah, we can definitely find it.
Yeah.
Welcome, Stormbender. Thanks for showing up, my friend. And then last we have our third journalist, actually an intern. This is Barbie Walker. Uh, she steps up and she says, "Now I want to point out Barbie Walker is the one that's actually closer to middle age in appearance. She has a little bit of combat experience. She was and she will explain this. In fact, let me slip in character here. Mr. Milligan, Barbie Walker with BKBC, local news outlet radio. Um, I have to tell you, the way you described your, I'm going to use the word incarceration. That might be a little bit strong, so hopefully you can forgive me that. The way you explain that seems almost legitimate outside of the question of legality. And I want to explain that before I get to my point that I want to make. Obviously, you wouldn't know this. I was a combat correspondent in the Central Asian. What the hell was that war called? The Central Asian War. Does that sound right?
Yep.
The military, in particular, has a phrase called the 5 S's, and I can't quite recall all five. Search, seizure, segregation, silence, and speed. I think I just hit all five of them. But are you familiar with this term or this approach to handling prisoners by chance?
And I lean in and I say, I am from a military career myself. Yes, I do.
Okay. So you do understand that perhaps some of, again, let's forget for the moment the legality of, whether or not Flex should have done this, but let's just look at what they did do immaterial of the rest. They separated portions of your crew. I guess they probably stressed some sort of security in order to keep you guys from, trying to get away or what have you. I'm sure they seized a bunch of things because they needed evidence of whatever they were looking for. I guess ultimately, Mr. Milligan, my question is this: by your own admittance, the 5 S's and the way that Flex conducted themselves, is it possible that maybe there's a misunderstanding on your part as to what Flex was all about in this case?
Do those same tenets apply to mercenary organizations? The S's.
I
Would
suppose.
a
I mean, my understanding was always that the 5 S's was a method to get, a method in which to treat or handle prisoners of war.
okay, by who exactly?
The ones
Anybody? By
capturing
anybody?
them.
Okay.
I
So,
I feel like she's feeling like you're trying to lead her down a road that she
oh, I
wasn't really
am.
thinking of.
I am leading her down a road. I'm like, the difference here being governmental, actual officers, law enforcement, as opposed to a civilian corporation acting as if they are law enforcement. In no way, shape, or form, and you say, let's just discount the legality of this for this conversation. No, 100%. This is about the legality
I
of
want to
this.
apologize, and I'm sorry for interrupting. I want to be clear. I think the frame of my question was meant to be outside of the question of legality. My understanding of the law, I'm a little bit new here on Beowulf, and I don't know how Flex operates, what laws they're required to follow, etc. My question was more about the 5S's idea and not so much the legal side of. I'm not saying what they did is right or wrong, for that matter. I was simply asking more about whether you understood the 5S's or not. And I do know, again, I don't mean to sound condoning or condescending.
No, and here's the deal. Whatever was on that Flex ship belonged to Flex. If they want to come in and seize all of that, that wasn't somebody's personal belongings, they are well within their rights to do that. But they are not within their rights to unlawfully imprison people. And you say follow the S's, you wouldn't be denying medical aid to a zero-G spacer that you've held on the planet of Beowulf for days as he suffered, as the gravity slowly crushed him.
I love how you
So
just want to
no,
throw that imagery in there.
right. Those tenets weren't being followed except cursory.
Perhaps.
Now, they told us, hang on,
Sorry.
I'm going to touch on all your points here. You talked about being detained or free to leave or not free to leave. These are questions we raised to them very pointedly. Am I free to leave? And they're like, sure, but I wouldn't recommend it. And I'm like, oh, yeah? Why is that? Because if you try to leave, we can use force to stop you. Those were the responses.
That is very
They were
interesting.
armed. We were not.
Who did we lose? We lost
Wiggles.
Wiggles.
Yep.
Oh,
There he is. He's back. Okay.
back again.
Everything good, Wiggles?
My voice quality went to shit.
Well, hopefully it's better. I think I'm gonna kind of change tracks because I don't want to spend all night on this topic in particular. Yep. Mr. Billigan, I see where you're coming from. Perhaps I misunderstood some things. Maybe I still argue, perhaps, that maybe you yourself, and I don't mean to be invasive or rude, but maybe there's just more to the story than what we're being told here, which of course is the whole point of you inviting us here and giving us the information you have so that we can go out and find it, which is exactly, what we're supposed to do as journalists. I do have one further question, and from the sounds of it, perhaps you can, perhaps you cannot, but maybe you can answer this. It sounds to me, and again, I'm basing this on some of my own combat correspondency experience and the things I've seen in combat zones. It seems to me as though you were held but never actually charged. Can you tell us perhaps, and again, I understand if you cannot, can you tell us why Flex never turned over any charges to any local or national authorities and why they did all this under the table, I guess is a good way to phrase that?
Honestly, the only way I can come up with any kind of answer that makes any kind of sense is they wanted to be able to find a scapegoat that they could label this as being done.
Interesting.
They had no evidence whatsoever that we had committed conspiracy. I think was one of the charges they said, that we were being investigated for and all this, where we were the people that were left in the wreckage of this ship to try to not die. Okay. So we I don't know. I'm losing it here.
I got you. Mr. Milligan, I do want to say thank you for inviting us here. I don't know. You know what, Mr. Milligan, if I can have a moment of your time off the record after we conclude here, I think maybe I can give you some advice.
Hmm.
And that's coming from Barbie Walker, the closer to
Mhm.
middle-aged journalist intern. So I
Alrighty.
think at this point, out of character, I'll just say, like, at this point, if you want to, it's kind of getting to that point where the press conference would be wrapping up, and
Yep.
across the board, there's no more questions being asked. I
Okay.
would imagine, for storytelling purposes, there'd probably be a couple more, but here we are.
So I
Basically at
shoot
the
them
end.
all. I shoot them all the documents that I promised them during the
Yeah.
Press conference. The copy of the NDA, the messages that received, both the the encrypted one and the ones that show our decryption
when
efforts and
you guys
that kind of
decoded
stuff.
everything
Yeah.
but like one word.
Yep. Well, there was an extra letter in it, if you remember right.
Yeah, I think there was. Yeah, there was something a little bit weird. Might have been a typo.
All right. So yeah, I'll talk to her afterward.
Okay. Yeah, so I think at this point, like, everybody else is taken off, and Walker was there with an assistant, another intern, probably a camera tech or something like that, and she kind of shoos him off. She's like, "Mr. Milligan, I got to be honest with you. Have you considered maybe seeking out legal representation? And I feel like maybe there's a case here, and perhaps with the rest of your crewmates and maybe even others, you might have a class action on your hands that you might be able to perpetrate." I don't know if perpetrate's the right word there, but I think you get the point.
Oh, I do. That's I don't want to make this be about money. I want this to be about justice. I definitely feel like the crew is definitely involved to some amount of compensation for being illegally detained like that.
Well, quite
Quite
probably.
simply, this has been a process that I haven't even been able to catch a breath from at this point. Uh, we have gone from being detained in one location to being detained in another location to being brought to the starport for out processing to be left pretty much on our own at that point. And that
And
was
they did all
all.
this within just a week?
Yeah, that was like yesterday.
Oh, yesterday.
Yeah,
Okay. All
yeah,
right. And she'll put
yeah.
her hand on your shoulder and be like, "Listen, you do definitely need to take some time for yourself. Think about your mental health. Think about the mental health of your crewmates, your friends. Take a few days off or whatever it is you got to do, and maybe come at this from a fresh angle. But I also can understand, it's in your face, so you got to deal with it right here, right now. Again, I didn't always shoot a camera. Sometimes I had to shoot a gun. I get it. You got to manage what you got, and sometimes the stress just keeps you going and going and going." I just wanted to say, you have, it sounds like you might have the potential to drop a class action against the corporation. I don't know. Of course, you're going up against a large entity that's been around for decades. Probably going to want to make sure you get some really good representation, which of course is going to cost a lot of money. This is just my advice. You could take it as you see fit. I'm going to leave you my contact information. I'll keep in
Alrighty.
touch with you, and if I do find anything, if anything comes up on my end, I will let you know. And if you would, please, anything else new comes up on your end, please let me know, and we'll see what we can do about. I'm hesitant to say the words "break this story," but I feel like there's definitely something going on here that's worth further investigation. Excuse me. And of course, she'll give you her contact information. Her name is Barbie Barbie, just like the dumb doll. Listen, I was trying to make a play on Barbara Walters, and I just didn't want to go with Barb because that would have been too obvious. I don't know, maybe I thought it would be too obvious. But anyways, Barbie Walker, she's a journalist, an intern journalist at the local radio station BKBC.
Okay,
You can go ahead and record that as a new contact for you.
Yep, I just did.
Dun 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 dun.
That was well played. All right, so we did our little press conference. That was really cool the way that went. Even before I got in the way. No, that sounded really self-centered. I'm sorry. That was actually pretty cool the way you decided to do a press conference and everything. I really appreciate that, Third Art.
No problem.
Our next scene is going to be roughly 9 a.m. Wednesday morning. Basically the following morning at the airport, or excuse me, I almost said airport hangar, at the Starport hangar that Tankerson wanted you guys to go to. Before you guys do that, though, do you guys want to do a little quick huddle with the 3 characters and any others that you want to bring with you from your slowly growing cult of personality? I don't know. Growing pool of NPCs. And what equipment are you thinking of bringing with you? And before you answer all of those questions, for the viewer's sake, and possibly for your guys' sake, basically, this scene, your task, or whatever you want to call it, is you have been given 750,000 Libra to go down to the Barrier Aerospace hangar to make contact with the Barrier Aerospace personnel and make an offer to purchase the 2 LC-10s that they own at a very low price compared to their list price, simply because that company is literally moments from going bankrupt, and Mike Tankerson is trying to get one hell of a deal because he needs more ships for his growing, I want to put gift shop items in, oh god, what's the word I'm looking for here? There's a word for that kind
No
of
idea.
stuff.
Is it penis?
No, it is not. No, I'm thinking, it's like a German or Jewish word, for like little knick-knack stuff. It's gonna bug me now. Anyways, that's the mission, as it were. I don't want to call it a mission, 'cause it's not quite a mission, but you get the idea. So anyway, do you guys want to do a little in-character meetup? Close enough. Bric-a-brac. There's another word. It's like kvitch, catch, something. I can't think of it, though.
Tchotchke.
Tchotchke! Damn. Man, my brain works, and then sometimes it's just like, no, go fuck yourself. Yeah, so, again, the big questions I'm wanting answered is, who's going, what are you bringing, and what's the general approach that you guys want to use?
I'm gonna carry my agent software loaded into my subdermal. I think I may ask Gray to come along because he's a comms guy, so we may want to check out the comms stuff a little bit better.
That makes sense. Check the radios to make sure the landers can actually talk to each other and ground.
Yep.
I mean, there's only
Yep.
9 of us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you're
I
probably
think
not gonna
I think everybody should go.
I mean, that's a pretty
Is
big
there
crowd
9?
to show up all of a sudden at somebody's place of
God.
business, though.
Is
That's
there
fine.
okay? So there's 3 player characters. There's my NPC wife.
Yeah.
There's the 2 Marine dumbasses.
And their Marine mom. That sounded bad. God damn
Their
it.
sister.
Their
Their
Marine
Marine
sister. Yeah, but now it just got really weird. Let me stop. I've been... Man.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah,
So
the 3 Marines,
yeah,
the wife...
The 3 Marines. Oh god. Okay. So that's 4 plus 3. That's 7, and then plus the comm guy. That's 8. Who am I missing?
The Tillman, I think is his name. The steward.
The steward.
steward.
Right. The steward.
A junior steward.
The astrogator, Tran.
Okay, so I never looked at my notes. I had the thought, did Marshall Tran get booted with you guys?
That's
I
what
don't
you
know.
said. Yep. I asked last time and you said yes.
All right. Well, while you guys are
But
figuring that out,
that's entirely up to you because I think plenty of people can astrogate. So
yeah, I think I may have thrown him in there as an extra red herring. Let me look at my notes while you guys go ahead and do your scene of who's gonna go and all that stuff.
So my wife's definitely gonna go. You know, she graduated from like a fancy engineering school, so she actually has both like the professional qualifications.
and y'all have tools, right?
Ooh.
Yes,
Of your
I have a
own?
bunch of fancy tools. Yeah.
Okay, good. Because that's
I just
the
got a
one thing I
lockpick.
saw that we were missing.
You don't get
I just
tools,
got a
right?
lockpick.
I got a toothpick.
So yeah, I think we should
And
bring
then-
anybody that has a particular skill and put them on whatever subsystem that would be,
Yeah,
you know, to check it out.
Sorry. To answer
And
that
then,
question,
we
Tran
bring-
is part of the crew, by the way.
Okay.
The crew of you.
I got a lot of mouths to feed suddenly. God damn.
Well, here's the other thing, real quick. So I threw a bunch of a bunch, it was being like 2 or 3 that weren't already somehow included and everything else. Anyway, a handful of NPCs. You don't necessarily have to keep them around. You can always dismiss them, much like your companions in certain game companies' games. But they were there for extra bodies in case you needed them for any particular reason, or depending on which body, a specific reason. Obviously, the 3 Marines, if you need shooty shoots, you got the commo guy, you got the navigation guy, and you got someone that can make sandwiches. I feel like that's an important spot.
I make sandwiches.
Hey, if that's all he does, he better make some damn good ones. And you know what? It's hard to work on an empty belly.
You wouldn't hit a guy with glasses, would you? Oh, you hit a guy with glasses.
Wow. Anyways, sorry. I just wanted to answer that question. I probably just derailed everything you guys were just talking about. Please continue.
I don't know. I think we should also discuss which NPCs I guess we're keeping.
You've definitely got the. I'll tell you as the GM, the ones that I know are definitely hanging on until you say no, go away, don't come back. Are definitely the 2 knuckleheads and Blaine.
100%.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, the 2 knuckleheads are staying.
Yeah, and then Blaine, because somebody's got to help you manage them. That's her. That's literally her catchphrase at the moment. It's like, well, somebody's got to keep an eye on them, and you're busy doing that. It might as well be me. That's basically what her mantra is at this point. Tran and Tillman are available if you want them, and then Paul Gray is, in a similar vein to the Marines. He's kind of hanging out with Helwig, because he doesn't really know what else to do now that the meeting with Tankerson has taken place. So he's kind of just he's following everybody because he's assuming he's part of the group until somebody specifically says, no, you're not part of the group.
You're not part of the cool kid cloud.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I like how you threw Cloud in there because it's all technical stuff.
Yep. He was our way in. I don't know if we want to keep him, but I don't have good comms. I mean, just looking at my stuff, I just have basic computers. I just got basic sensors, and I have a basic turret op. So starship wise, I could run the computers. I could kind of shoot guns, and kind of operate sensors, but I can't talk.
And that was Gray's specialty, was communications and some bleed over into the sensor side of things.
Yeah.
I don't think we have much use or interest for keeping the steward around. We never really interacted with the steward very much anyway while we were playing with the flex stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Unless he has skill at maintaining the life support system.
I think one of the lore established was that he did have life support skills.
Right.
Because I feel, and I really do feel like to some degree, a steward would have a little bit of that overlap Venn diagram type thing going on with life support stuff. Established lore. Yep, exactly.
At least not for this adventure, I guess. We don't really need sandwiches in this adventures. We're on Baywell to go get Taco Bell.
Yeah,
sorry. We can get Space Taco Bell.
Yeah, go get Space Del Taco.
Complete with the Space Del Taco. Sorry.
Because we don't even know what we're going to do at this point.
Yeah,
we know we're supposed to get these landers. If this is what we're going to be flying for the short term, we don't need huge crews. It's only a crew of 2. So we don't need just a whole lot of people. Plus, what are we using them for? Are we going to pick people up? Are we going to pick stuff up? I mean, I have no idea.
And realistically, these guys are going under, so maybe it's just walking in and making sure that we get the best deal. I mean, like the last notes I have from last session says, we just need to walk whether the new boss is going to get hosed buying these used spaceships, or can we talk them down to a more reasonable price? So I think having with us to at least verify the comms and stuff works. Wyatt's wife along to at least do the walkthrough and go checklist wise. Yep, tires. Yep, engines.
I want to lift it off and make sure it flies and lands.
Well, there's
idea.
that. There's that too.
Yeah.
And if we don't, maybe they're lifted off and land someplace and say,
All right, so who's going? What I'm hearing is obviously the 3 PCs.
I think everybody should.
You want to send all 9? excuse me, even the Marines who have no business being there unless.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't.
You know what? We might need them to get coffee or something like that.
Well, see, Iron
Big
Mike.
group to show up. I'm just saying. Listen, if you want to show up with all 9, roll deep. Roll deep.
Yep.
I'm just
Iron
picturing
Mike.
I'm just picturing if I was in a hangar bay turning a wrench and all of a sudden 9 people showed up. I'm looking for a bigger wrench because I might have to throw it,
Oh, or you might get more polite.
or I might get more play. That is true. It depends on how many people are working in the hangar with me, I guess.
But Iron Mike was sitting at the head of the table with all of us sitting at the table. He said right there he was going to pay everybody what $3,000 as their part of going to get these ships, right?
Yeah,
So to
everybody's
me, that
getting
was
3
him
grand.
offering it. He was offering it to everyone at the time.
Yeah.
I say as long whether we're going to use them on a future ship crew or not, let's let them make that money right now, and
All
let's
right,
all
fair
go
enough.
to get the landers.
Fucking the street chat. What's the creamer situation? Lock down that sugar. You guys are fucking killing me. Okay. All right, so we're going to roll deep. What are we bringing? Obviously, we're bringing our tools to see if things work
Yep.
correctly.
Yep.
Big ass.
Big ass guns. I don't know if that's a great
No,
idea.
I'm not gonna bring a gun, but I'm thinking about bringing a gun. Now we're gonna bring. So I have my tool sets. So we're gonna bring our tool set.
Now you're bringing this in
And,
like
yeah.
a big red toolbox, or are you like throwing stuff in a backpack? What's this look like?
What?
I have multiple
don't know.
toolboxes.
Well,
Yeah, right.
I bought a lot of tools. All right. So
Yeah, you're an engineer.
yeah. I forgot what tools I have, but I have them.
See, that's what
I
the
bought
knuckleheads are for. They're going to be carrying tools.
There you go. They're no longer gunners and Marines. They're porters. All right, so
I mean, the job of a Marine is just mostly carry shit from point A to point B anyway.
basically. All right. Anything else that we need to hash out before we go ahead and move on to the aerospace hangar?
Yeah, I guess some operational budgets, hotel rooms,
You're still in the same.
meal.
So okay, so on the housing situation, if you recall from last session, if you don't, that's fine. Tankerson said that he would cover. So you had the first night, whatever night that was. You had the first night that you guys paid for yourselves, and then or one of y'all paid for everybody or something like that. The second night after the meeting with Tankerson, and immediately following the press conference, Tankerson basically gave you guys vouchers or something he's going to pay for that second night himself, and then after that he was intimating something to the effect of finding you guys that transient housing, that would be your potentially long-term housing for while you work with him until something better comes along. So housing you don't have to worry about anymore. Fundamentally, it's just a matter of remembering where you're supposed to be.
All right.
Anything else?
We're probably gonna rent like a truck or like I guess a van at this point. God damn.
Well, there's public transit. That's why I was asking, like, if you were bringing everything like on a backpack or something, or if you were gonna lug around like these giant tool chests and shit. Because there's obviously.
I mean, I'm gonna assume they don't have anything, right? That's what I'm gonna assume.
Fair.
If they're planning to bankruptcy, then they're probably selling as much stuff for liquid as they can. So I'm gonna assume they don't have anything.
Fair enough. So you want to get a van?
Yeah, I'm gonna bring a van. I'm gonna bring every goddamn tool I have.
Hey, that's expensive. Just saying.
Hey, he got 10 grand and his last month's pay and his wife's last month's pay and 10 grand for her. He's rolling in something like 40,000 Libra right now just from that alone.
Oh yeah, but I'm just saying we could always
probably 35, but
we could probably just expense it to the boss.
That is true. Now, what I don't remember is you guys didn't get a company credit card. So, however, if you pay for it up front, perhaps Tankerson will pay you back after the fact.
Mhm.
So
That was
don't lose your
kind of the
receipts.
understanding that I got.
Yeah, don't lose your receipts.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, those are all the tools I bought during Carrier Generation.
Okay. All right, so I think what we look at is this. Again, a reminder on Beowulf, the local day is like 523 hours long. So the sun has, for all intents and purposes, not really moved, despite the fact that you just spent the last several hours asleep and then getting up and getting ready to go. I I think we established it was something like 10 o'clock in the morning based on the amount of light and the angle and all that stuff. There's another thing, too, that I haven't really covered in Aliceport, perhaps in other cities on the planet as well. They have these, I forget what they call it. Anyway, basically what they are is like sunshades, but they're like in a bit of a grid so that sun comes through for a little while and then skips because of the way the grid is set up, and then it comes over again. I don't know how to explain it without a visual aid or a paragraph to read, but it was in one of the books I was reading about Beowulf that it was they have these structures built to so that way it's not just, you know, days upon days upon days of sunlight, because then how would plants and shit like that grow? You know, the ones that are transported from are transplanted from Earth. But anyway, so it appears to be something like 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning on a bright sunny day. Of course, the local time is actually, or the real time is actually something like 9 a.m. Let me go ahead and update my my overlay here to the correct time, or date rather, to Wednesday. Oops. Wednesday. What a stupid way to spell a word, by the way. Wednesday.
All right, and then before we and then we're gonna get a loan, and I'm gonna talk to my wife, and I'm gonna talk to our German security friend and our cyber pilot.
Cyborg pilot.
And
go ahead.
Gonna turn on the bug jammer, and I'm gonna say, okay, whatever. So he put the upper limit at $1 million. These people are on the verge of bankruptcy, which means that anything they liquidate will have to go to their creditors.
Right.
So what I'm planning to do, what I'm hoping to do, and this will only go forward if we'll agree to it, is I'm gonna offer them, assuming the ships aren't piece of shit, obviously. If the ship's a piece of shit, then this doesn't work. But I'll offer them $500,000 in cash, right? Just under the table, right then and there. But I'm gonna tell our new patron that we're gonna buy it for $600,000, and we're gonna pocket the difference.
I just kind of arch an eyebrow at that and go, okay.
Well, I'm not trying to be devil's advocate with this, but I thought something was discussed last time that would have prevented that from happening.
That's when I was in charge of the books. I am no longer in charge of the books.
No, but I thought that he was going to have a representative there to complete the sale. Is that not true?
I think
we're gonna bring a gun, and we're gonna fight a dark alley.
Jesus Christ! It's bright sunshine out. You're not gonna get very many of those. I don't recall. I don't think there was an agent or a representative or whatever like that going with you guys. I think what the idea was that you were going to go and get the initial offering and all that stuff, you know, negotiated or what have you, and then the two entities, that being Barrier Aerospace and Tankerson's own company, would get the paperwork done up so they could transfer all the stuff back.
Yeah, the money's in an escrow account right now. We have like the credit chip for it.
Yeah,
right.
And
that we don't have access to move those funds ourselves.
And there were, I do remember there was something about like certain conditions had to be met in order for any money to be dispersed from that.
Right.
But it did show the available amount of money being the, you know, initially the 750,000, but it does show that it can be up to $1 million released. Of course, you're not going to show $1 million and only say, "Well, I'm only going to pay you 750." Like, well, I know you have $1 million in your pocket, so I'm going to ask for $1 million.
Hey, you know, I think this is an easy lie to sell if we just pay them $600,000 in cash. That's under the table, you know. Let's go.
So you're gonna push for a deal for $500,000. Tell the boss it was actually 600, which is still lower than his initial bid, and keep $100,000 for yourself.
100%.
And this is on your very first mission with your very new patron, and you're hoping it doesn't backfire. And he says, "Go fuck yourself," and leaves your dead body in the back of a ditch.
It's a very reasonable to believe lie.
Okay, we'll see how that works out for you when we get to that point. Are you guys pulling up on the starport now?
Obviously, of course, that's my zany plan. The other PCs don't want to do it, then we won't do it, obviously.
Okay.
But
I-
Wyatt throws it out there.
Why?
He's like,
Why is a free
Why-
civilian for like 36 hours? He's already planning crimes.
no. Wyatt is old. He was hoping that Flex is going to be a nice way to enter into retirement with a pension, and that went up in flames.
Okay. All right.
But I don't think we should do this with a brand new employer.
I'm
And I think there's enough safeguards on that stick that they're going to know, unless we paid cash for these things out of our own pockets, which that's still going to leave a completely different paper trail. I don't see how we're going to be able to hide it.
I'm just
Right,
gonna.
right. That's
just
why there's a
gonna-
lie. We'll get the 600 grand in cash or bearer bonds. I don't know whichever one works for 2,300. We'll
I'd probably
tell
something
the
safer with like bearer bonds because you're literally carrying the paper equivalent of a tremendous amount of money.
Do we even have that much money together?
No, he's talking about getting a loan.
Yeah.
Oh, and
Which
it's going to
I
get us
don't-
alone. We don't even have a job.
no. My plan is that I'm going to tell the boss that they want to pay that they will pay them underneath the table 600 grand. So that way they don't have to declare it on the official paperwork, and they don't have to give that money to their creditors.
I tell you what, why don't we give our boss a chance to show us what he's made of and us make the very best deal we can and see if he compensates us more than the $3,000 a piece than he said.
I'm just gonna put it out there that this, and I look over at Milligan and I say he just spent all this whole time saying we're not criminals,
Right.
and
I'm doing our best
on the
best to clear our
TV,
name. Yeah.
right? And at this time, I'm gonna kind of click on the TV over to a news channel and have the thing off, assuming that they're running
there's a recent update of
yeah.
Some other thing relating to the press conference. Somebody's doing a reaction video, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just saying, and I'm just gonna do the whole arm point at this thing and just go, let's keep the criminality down a little bit till at least we get ourselves fully established and this guy can cover us better with lawyers because I don't want to stay planet side.
Let's at least get out of the system.
Yeah. Although you have a great plan there, XO. You have a great plan. I love it. I think let's take the shade back a little bit.
Save it for mission 3, not mission 1. That's what I'm hearing.
Level 4, not level 1. Yeah. Cheat codes aren't good.
All right. I think that settles
Wyatt will go on with a group consensus and look at the IRA account and how empty it is.
We just need to get you. We just need, you know what? And I look at him. I said, you could always go down. I know where we can find some gambling halls if you really need to start making some trades. I heard about this robot league stuff. You can get involved in that. I'm just saying, gray something around the league. There's betting on all that all the time. If you really need to start throwing money around.
I love how you plug my other show that you're not even really affiliated with. I love it. All right. Can we go up to Are we pulling up the Starport hangar now?
Yes.
No, we're doing something else entirely. We're gonna go to a restaurant. I want detailed menus. I want to know.
We're going to Beowulf's Del Taco. It's fucking lunchtime. Let's go. Okay.
Waffle House.
When you pull up, the first thing you'll notice as you're actually pulling up is that there are. Actually, I'm supposed to roll the die here. Give me one quick second. There are 3 people sitting out front. I'm sorry, not sitting. They're standing out front, and they're looking through, like, how sometimes the front door to a building will have like a little window in it, and there's a couple of windows nearby. They're looking in it, and they're kind of playing with the door, but they're not opening it. And then they see you pull up, and I imagine, over the course of a moment or so, more or less everybody is popping out of the trucks or van or whatever the hell you showed up in, and these three people are just like, what the fuck is this? They look at each other, and they're just like, do you know who they are? No, do you know? No, I don't know. What about you? No clue. Two of them will kind of start approaching you. One of them, a man and a woman. And they definitely have they have the look of like they kind of feel like they know what this is about to be, like what the reason for your visit is, but they don't really want to be the first ones to say anything.
Can I do a recon check on them? Just kind of get an overview of everything else going on around us, just to make sure we're not walking into an enforcement team or something else like that. Trying to do this.
Sure.
All right.
Just to be clear, you're rolling to see what exactly.
I'm rolling to see like we see the three people, but I'm gonna do as I get out of the vehicle, I'm gonna do my cop security thing, like scan the whole thing, make sure that there's
no fire
nobody
team waiting around the corner.
Yeah, or even people going, that's a nice ship. It'd be a shame if something happened to it. Type of dealio.
All right, go ahead and make a recon social.
Okay. So 9 plus 10.
Okay. Yeah. So the impression you get is the one, you don't really sense any sort of immediate threat or anything like that.
Okay.
You actually kind of get the feeling that, maybe as whoever was driving is putting the vehicle in park, and you're seeing these guys before they turn their attention towards you. It looks like they were expecting these doors to be unlocked, and now they're actually locked, and they can't get inside.
Okay.
And that maybe there was supposed to be one or two other people here who are currently not here.
Okay, so I'm just going to mention that to EXO and to Milligan that we have some people. I don't know if these are the people we're supposed to meet, but there doesn't look like there's anybody else around here. So I think we should be good, security wise. But let's just keep our eyes out.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, whatever you would expect at it, you're.
Yep.
I mean, this is a major starport, so think, probably something along the lines of like Chicago O'Hare. I don't know. Well, yeah, we'll go with Chicago O'Hare. But you do have somewhere along the way, we kind of skipped over this part because you guys were going on about Del Taco and white collar crimes. Getting onto the starport grounds, as opposed to going into the terminals, might be a bit of a challenge. But I imagine at some point Tankerson would have given you guys clearance or facilitated you guys having access to the hangars, because you're there to seek out, on legitimate business.
Right.
And there's probably, a number of access points. You probably had to flash something at a gate or some shit like that. But yeah, so it's pretty busy. It's not like there's 100 ships all queued to come in or take off, but there's a ship landing, and maybe further afield there's another ship getting ready to take off.
Yeah, there's like vehicles driving around.
Yeah. It's
not like our first karaoke mission where there was like darkness and nothing else.
Yeah, and again, this is broad daylight too. You know, so because it's, despite the actual time, it appears to be something like 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, so these two, the first one just stays by the door. He kind of doesn't really post up, so to speak. He just kind of leans against the door, not really sure what else to do, because this was unexpected, and now a second unexpected thing is happening. But the other two, a man and a woman, they actually come up towards you guys, and again, they're very hesitant to speak, and they have a look on their face that seems like they know what you guys are here for.
So Wyatt's wearing some of his jumpsuit. The one particularly has like the light flex panels on it and whatnot. And he smiles and he goes, "Hey, hi!" And then he gives like the business name, which I forgot. I'm a bad role player.
The whatever company Tankerson is running, that I never actually created the name of his company.
No,
Yeah.
the company we're here to see.
Oh, Barrier Aerospace. Yeah.
Barrier Aerospace. Hi, yeah. We're here hoping to meet with someone, a representative of Barrier Aerospace.
Well, yeah, no, that's us. This is our hangar. What can we do for you?
Oh, fantastic. So, came to my understanding, that you may be looking toward to liquidate some of your assets, and I'm representing an interesting party that is willing to buy 2 of your LC-10s.
Curious. And they kind of look at each other and they're like, really? Now? Of all fucking times? Like, I realize I'm explaining maybe a little bit more than I should, but that's like the look on their face is they're both like, really? Right now? Now this is what's happening? Um, and so the lady steps up and she's, well, my name is Karina. This is Reese. We're the pilots of those LC-10s. You've actually caught us at a really, really bad time.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
No,
By the
I
way,
mean,
I'm
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Wyatt, Milligan. I can't remember your last name.
Hellwig.
Hellwig. God damn it. And
You are a
Hellwig.
bad role player. I'm sorry, I'm just joking.
I just kind of look at him a couple times. I just shrug my shoulders
Hold
and
on,
mutter
give
something in
me one
German.
second, guys.
That's
Hold
my
on,
finger,
one second.
that's my
Hold on,
finger.
hold on.
German cop.
Hang on one second. I'm gonna lose my sounds because my cat is playing with the cables. Give me just a moment here, guys. Go over there, stupid. I'm waiting for the thing to pop up. I can't hear anyone. Shit.
Oh, nobody's talking.
Oh, there we go. Yep. Maybe I should. Yeah. Okay. Note this up.
We're
Next
just
time
being quiet.
Yeah. Next time, don't say anything, and I can tell if I still have connection. All right. Sorry. Please go ahead. Resume.
Well, I'm Wyatt. This is my wife, Wyatt.
This is my
Hellwig
other
and
wife,
Milligan.
Wyatt. I'm sorry. Jesus Christ.
And I'll offer the two of them my hand as he's doing the introductions.
Yeah. You'll get a. I almost said timid. It's not timid. It's more of an apprehensive and hesitant handshake from Karina, and Reese is just kind of like, yeah, whatever, and he does the handshake. It's a fairly firm handshake for what it is, but he's definitely like they're both on their guard right now, and very much off
How
put.
about this is their job. I mean,
Yeah.
I lean in and say, you know what? We were all fired 2 days ago. I feel you, man.
You didn't even have to say all that. I knew exactly where you go when you said I lean in. I'm like, yeah, nah, bro, I feel you, man. Tough times. First time?
I'm gonna walk over towards the door and just start looking at it and ask if it's been locked.
No, the dude standing over there, let's just call him Jim. He's just like, yeah, no, it's locked, man. None of our codes are working either.
And I take out a lockpick kit and say, "Oh, okay." And I look back. I look back at Wyatt, and I kind of shrug my shoulders and go, "Meh." I pat mine towards my lockpick kit and towards
you
the
do
door.
the hand, you do the key turning hand motion, and you're just waiting. Like, there's a question mark here?
Yeah.
I think before you even get that far, Jim is just like, yo, wait, hey, hold up, what? Hold on, man, I can't just have you walking in our place. Like, what? Hold on.
So maybe we can
Anyway,
talk to somebody at corporate. Get this door open.
Anyway,
as soon as you say corporate, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Wiggles. Go ahead.
If you're having problems, maybe I'm more than willing to help you make the situation. The party I'm interested in is particularly anxious to get this wrapped up quickly. So, if there's anything we could do to help you out in your current situation, just let us know. Like,
Jim, so the guy over by the door, he just looks over to the lady, Karina, and she's just like, okay, obviously you guys are here for something other than what I thought you were here for, which is actually something of a relief. And let me pull my notes to make sure I'm not missing a beat here. I'm gonna... Fuck, I didn't want to tell you guys this, because I don't know who you are, and we're kind of in a bind, but... Jesus Christ. Alright, so, listen, here's the deal. I don't know where our bosses are. Usually they're here by now, and whenever they're late, they say something, but they're gone. We peeked in the windows, the Hayabusa's gone. this is really irregular. The codes are different. The doors are locked. We can't get in. The two bosses are gone. And she starts just kind of like going in this loop. She really doesn't really like. She doesn't know how to explain any better than what she's doing right now. And Reese is just like, she gets like that sometimes. Yeah. So long story short, it looks as though the bosses have taken the Hayabusa and boosted out of here. Probably with our paychecks in their pockets.
That was going to be my next
Glad-
question. When was the last time you got paid?
Yeah, it's we were supposed to get paid this week.
Okay. We might can help you with that today.
And
Yeah.
then Karina catches her breath and she says, fuck it. If they don't care, why the hell should I? Listen, you got the one walk-through hangar here, or excuse me, the walk-through door here. There's an office on the backside of the hangar. There's a door there. Obviously, there's the roll-up doors for the ships to get in and out of. What do you guys want to take a look at? I guess if you could pop the lock, we can get in. I mean, there's probably a rock we could break a window, but I think the starport would have a problem with that.
I think the Starport would have a problem with that.
Yeah. Which of you are responsible for making purchases and stuff for the hangar?
Well, that would be the two shitheads that took off with the corporate jet.
Okay.
To be clear, the Hayabusa is something of it's a space jet, effectively. If you don't know, I think it's in Aerospace Engineer's Handbook. The Hayabusa is a luxury space plane. So just imagine a really fancy, like Air Force One, but like sleek and pointy.
Oh yeah.
And it's got starter warp on it. So, yeah.
So again, I'm gonna go look at Wyatt and again point at my lockpick kit, point at the door, and just say we could probably get in and not trip the alarm.
Yep.
I'll match Eyes of Hellwick, and I'll give him like a nod.
And I'll get the knuckleheads, and we'll go kind of stand over there with our backs to him,
Okay.
The human shield while he does something
Yep,
illegal.
you got it. You got it.
It's not illegal.
It's
We're
not
just
illegal if you don't get caught.
It's not
Exactly.
illegal when you just discover that the door's been unlocked the whole time.
And then I'm gonna ask him. It's like, do you guys know do you guys know there's an alarm code?
Yeah, I think Karina would just pop up and be like, yeah, there's probably some sort of security system, but knowing those two shitheads, they probably changed it before they left. If they even bothered to pay the subscription for it.
I'm just gonna groan and mutter in German, and then I'm gonna go and try to pop the lock with my profession security and my lockpick kit, which gives me an extra 1.
You're gonna need a total of a 10 plus on this. Just so you know.
10 plus?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And there's a roll that I get to make as well, but you go first.
Okay.
So while this is happening, I'll turn to Gray. It's like, hey, can you get in contact with Space Traffic Control and see if you can get the flight plan, the registered flight plan for the Hayabusa?
Gray just kind of pulls up his little link device. I don't know if you'd have like an actual cell phone looking thing or something, but I'm thinking that little. You guys ever watch Babylon 5 and all the people that worked on the station had those little gray pads on the back of their hand? Anyways, yeah. So he pulls it up. He says, "I'll see what I can do." They're probably not going to release that information like just because some private citizen wants it. But let me see what I can work out here. And he goes off to the side. Like he goes and leans against the back end of the van and starts making, the quote unquote phone call.
I got a 7.
Yeah, Hellwig, the lock doesn't pop, but more importantly, I don't know, is this lockpick thing like a physical key type deal, or is this some sort of digital tumbler sort of thing?
It's like a digital tumbler type of setup. If I the way it was described in the catalog book was that it's just basically a lockpick kit that's supposed to give me an extra +1 on lockpicking, but it can be digital tumbler or it can be physical.
It can be whatever we need it to be.
Yeah,
That's what I'm hearing.
Exactly. Yeah, it really wasn't described much more than.
Got it. No, I think what happens
and I have a really good lockpick known as a plasma counter.
I think what you hear, or you get on your, we'll just say on your kit, Mr. Hellwig,
Yeah.
you get a ping that you don't normally get when you use this device.
Okay. All right, and I'm just gonna just mutter loudly in German and and a
How do you
couple
mutter
expletives.
loudly? What does that sound
Well,
like?
and just basically go. Oh, it's locked tight. It went into security mode.
Yep.
So we can either kick the door down or we can break the window. Unless the other side is open.
Yeah, there is
If
a
they-
second door, and Karina is kind of hanging nearby, and she's like, "Yeah, all right, so I guess you fucked that door up. Well, if we can get in the office, we can, there's access to the hangar proper from the office. So I guess we can go try that one." I imagine you're
Yeah.
gonna be making another roll here.
Sure, why not? Let me try it. Why not? Let's have fun with this. By God, I bought this early on.
You finally get to use it, and now you're fucking it up.
Yep, exactly. Let me try it again.
better.
Oh,
better.
9.
Yeah,
plus 2. That's 11.
Yep, that door pops open, and let me see if there's a ping on your thing. There is another ping, so that might actually expedite things with 2 pings.
Yeah, I'm gonna just look at or shout down the Wyatt because I'm assuming we're like further down the way. 5-0 might be coming.
5-0.
We might want to expedite in, out, something, or
think,
come up with a good
all right,
excuse.
I got you on this one. I think Blaine, Christy Blaine, nominally aware of what's going on because as you guys had pulled in and started to actually interact with the crew, Blaine kind of put Buford, or excuse me, Aiello and Spearman on something of a security duty. So she kind of posted them up in, not terribly far from the van, but, a little ways off, watching basically 2 different directions. And she's kind of in a centralized location between those 2 knuckleheads and you guys, so she can kind of be aware of whatever might be going on with y'all. You get the impression she's probably got a pistol in her jacket, by the way.
Right.
And she kind of overhears all this. She's nominally aware of what's going on. And she's like, "Yep, I'll let the boys know. As soon as the cops show up, we'll know on their approach, and you guys can start getting your story straight. Maybe some expedition might be required here."
And at this point, I'm gonna kind of and go repo team.
As soon as you say repo team, Karina and Reese both look at you like, "Fuck no. Hold on a minute." And then Karina is like, hold on. She's got that exasperated look again. She's about to start talking in circles. And she's got that look of, there's more to this story. Listen, this is what I know. We came to work today. The bosses aren't here. The Hayabusa's gone. I bet. And she starts looking around the office, and she's like, "Yeah, those sons of bitches stole everything that they could get their hands on, that they could turn into cash quickly. And I bet if you look in that safe over there, there's no money in there either." And she points to like not necessarily a wall safe, but some sort of one of those. Oh God, they're like little mini counter desk safes.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And they skedaddled because they knew that the business was about to go under. Here's a problem. A bigger problem than even the law coming out here, because I'll talk to them. It's going to be Starport Security. We've talked to them before. There's people on Grendel that need a ride back, and our company had the contract to do it. University of Elysia is going to be a little bit miffed that the company that's supposed to get their staff and students back just dipped out, and now the company's going under. We need to figure out how to get those people off the planet, off of Grendel, and get them back home before Grendel becomes a gigantic ice ball.
And I just look over at Wyatt and again arch an eyebrow, and kind of like pantomime. Hey, what do you want to do, boss man?
Get in. Just fucking. Do we have to cut the door down? Get in.
We are in. We're in. The door is open.
We're in.
Yeah, the door is
Yeah,
open.
you got it in. So you're
open.
in the office, which is like a little side building on the back side of the hangar. You're in the office. The office looks like quite a bit of disarray. Like there's like paper scattered everywhere. It looks like somebody came in, grabbed a bunch of shit, and left.
Are there any computers
Yes.
in this office?
Yes.
So I'm gonna start walking over to one and again kind of plug my agent stuff into it with my subdermal.
Your agent stuff.
Yeah, and start just pulling records.
Yeah. And I'll motion for the Marines to start lugging in all our equipment and whatnot into the building, and for one of them to go park the van far away, I guess.
And then I'm going to look over at the two people that are here and just say, "Well, we were contracted to come and make negotiations for our patron to purchase the two LC-10s. Do you know what the conditions are? Because don't lie to me, because
at least
I can
we
pull
fly
up the
them like
service.
almost every other week or so. There's somebody flying somewhere. So backstory, out of character, but this is the spiel that between Karina and Reese and Jim, this is the information you get, is that Barrier Aerospace charters various passengers going various places all across Beowulf and its moons and otherwise in the system. Its biggest or most lucrative contract, the most secure contract they have, is that so Grendel is I keep wanting to say rogue planet. It's not really rogue. It's just got a different orbital path than most planets in a solar system. It's got a highly eccentric orbit. It dips in below Beowulf's orbit and then swings back out again on an 18-month cycle. And currently it is headed away from the sun. So it's basically heading into the colder part of its orbit. So the University of Elysia has a station on the planet's surface for scientific study that, there's a couple of professors, some staff, and a handful of students that are up there working on, doctorates or some shit. The problem is once it goes into the long winter phase, they don't leave anybody on the station. They just shut it all down and bring everybody back and whatever equipment they need to come back. And leave the station there dormant. And then when the planet comes back in and starts warming up again, they start bringing people back up for classes and study programs and whatever the case might be. Not classes, but, study work.
Yeah, yeah.
The problem is... Go ahead.
I'm going to say, I'm going to just, based on all this, and I'm just going to look at Wyatt and say, it sounds like the mission profile's changed. We may need to get a hold of our patron. We may need to get these people, or do you just want to leave them hanging?
I think Karina
we're not.
Karina when you bring that up, Karina is just looking at you and like, I don't want to say she's got the heartfelt puppy dog eyes, but she's like, yo, we really need to get those people back. Damn the contract. Like, that's like, I don't know, what, like 8 or 10 people up there. You know what I mean? Like, they need to come home.
Right.
Well, look, based upon our earlier conversation and how you want to proceed with our new employment, I don't think you have another choice but to proceed forward on the best footing.
And we got to flight test these.
We had to flight test these. That's 100% true.
I think Jim, who, by the way, I didn't really give much of a description. Jim is definitely dressed in, like, mechanics coveralls. He's like, they're certified, but, if we're selling this shit, and when he says selling this shit, he looks over to Karina and Reese, and she's like, listen, if we're selling this shit at a test drive, it makes sense. Let's use it, get these people back, everybody's happy, we get these out of here, maybe we get some cash, because clearly the bosses aren't going to get it. Fuck the boss. At this point, Jim is like, fuck the bosses. Let's just make sure this ship works, go get the people back, and walk away with a hefty paycheck we wouldn't have gotten.
Can somebody pull the financial paperwork on those landers? Like who the lien holder is and all of that?
Well, Karina will first off be like, well, as far as I know, they're owned by Barrier, but... And then Reese is like, no, they're leased. Wait, maybe there's a payment. Please, son of a bitch. You're going to have to look in the computer. I don't know. We just fly them. And Jim and one other guy does all the maintenance on them.
And I'm going through because, rolling
your
dice
headset is getting a little wonky again.
Sorry. Let me go and roll my dice because computers are there.
All right, what are you rolling again?
dice.
Yes.
There's one. My education is one, so I got a 9. And again, financials and whether these things are they own them
Oh, God.
outright.
All right, I'm piecing a lot of that
It's like
together. I
these-
think I can get it, but Hellwood, could you, or Charles, could you, I don't know, restart your headset?
Yeah, give me a second.
Yeah, sorry,
yeah, it's
man.
like you're doing that like fake going in a cave thing. It's great.
All right, you got me now.
Yeah, so you're checking first. So what I got was you're checking to see, I guess, who officially owns these landers, and then I think you were looking at something else financial related.
Yeah. It's just looking. I mean, I'm downloading all their financial, all their records on the computer I can get to,
Okay.
just so extra stuff we can give over to our new patron, Rocky. And then I'm going through these looking for the financials and just to verify that these NPCs aren't fibbing to us or any ways trying to.
No,
I mean,
all right. So
it definitely sounds like they're not fibbing to us, but just
no. In fact, a lot of what they're saying is checking out. They've got some details wrong, but that's because they're not the corporate or the bosses or whatever. So long story short, the starships, or excuse me, the landers are owned by a bank, and there's a monthly payment plan, interest and all that shit. Similar
Right.
to a car payment. Barrier Aerospace is I think I'm using this word correctly, the lien holder.
yeah.
Or is that the bank that would be the lien holder?
The bank's the
I think
lien
that's the
holder.
bank.
Yeah, so the bank, the local Bank of Beowulf, First National Bank of Beowulf, whatever, is the lien holder. Barrier Aerospace is the pay, or whatever the fucking
The
terms are.
debtor.
Debtor.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, I've paid for cars and shit my whole life, but I couldn't tell you the damn terms. They're making the monthly payments.
So what's the bottom line on it right now? How much is still owed on the two?
I'm just gonna say there's something like a 2-year plan or 2 years remaining.
And
I
how
don't
much
know.
total?
I'd have to look it up, to be honest with you, to look up what the price is. I'm making this up a little bit as I go because I know initially Barrier doesn't actually own those spacecraft because that's going to be
Right.
that was going to be an entanglement after the fact. The long story short is there's something like between 18 and 24 months remaining on the loan. There, as far as what money the company actually has, it looks like all of the money from a couple of different, let's say like 2 or 3 different accounts, were all drained into the same 2 accounts.
Oh,
So
great.
5 accounts. So there was 5 accounts total involved. 5 different account numbers. 3 accounts showed money coming out. 2 accounts showed money coming in, and it looks like the total amount was split roughly evenly.
So it definitely sounds like they basically cleaned out the company and bailed with the cash.
Yeah,
And
that's
I'm gonna
exactly
mention
what they did.
I'm gonna mention that out loud, like just the basics of what I understand for some forensic or accounting without having an accountant look at this.
Yeah.
Sounds like they basically robbed you guys blind. There's money left.
Yeah, well, they were the
so-
title holder. I don't know if it would be a title or a deed or whatever for the
Yep.
owners of a company, but they were the ones that held it. And this is Karina saying this, like, yeah, they were the bosses. They own the company, and well, you even said it, so you know yourself. The company's going bankrupt, and they took what money they could and got the fuck out of town.
Yep. So we could probably take these and operate these without a problem, but we're gonna have to explain ourselves when we get back.
You mentioned something about a patron. Maybe our next step is listen. Me, Reese, Jim, we all want some cash too. Maybe if we all sit down with your guy, we can get something worked out and get these people down from Grendel, and maybe everybody, like Jim said, everybody walks away happy. I don't know. I can't tell you or promise you anything about the ships. They're not mine to give, but they are here to be used to get those people back.
This sounds like a sweetheart deal to us. And I look over at Wyatt and go, your play.
Yeah, no. So we'll have Milliken, if he's up for it, we'll have Milliken fly one of the LC-10s up.
Reese
And
is
he'll fly
immediately
the
going to
other-
step up and be like, listen, we can fly these craft. I'm not
Yeah,
letting
if
you
we're
guys
gonna-
take them out from under us.
No. Oh, god damn it! Look, we're
We
gonna
want
buy
you
the
to go
craft,
with
we-
us.
Yeah, no. He's only one guy. I mean, like, he could probably fly 10 of these ships, but he's only one guy. He'll fly one up there. Some of your pilots will also come to him on the other ship, and then you'll switch ships in the flight back. So that way, our pilot can get to fly both ships to see how they handle.
And I'm just gonna look at him and go, I'll stay on the ground.
And my German repatriate here will stay on the ground.
So you're not
Hey,
gonna go.
great.
You're not gonna go to Grendel. Is that what I'm hearing, Charles?
Well, I mean, like in character, right? You know, space travel.
Do we have a BA Brackus in the group now? That was an old school reference for the A team. For those that don't know.
Yep. I mean, you know, if I have to go, I'll go. But
do we need to get some cheeseburgers or maybe some donuts for you?
Yeah. You know, if I don't have to go, then perfect.
You know that I work in space, right? I mean, that's like primarily where I work.
Yeah, except Hellwig hasn't had some good experiences in space most recently. We have to get him. He's
fallen
fallen off of his bicycle. We need to get him back on it.
Yeah. You know, we almost crashed. Remember? Station. Boom.
It was fine. It was fine. We all took some space nap.
You're overreacting.
Go to space. Go to space, they said. Get some laughs, they said.
I think at this point, Karina and Reese are both pretty much putting their foot down. They really want to meet with your patron in order to get this thing going. They don't think that the right course of action is to just say fuck it and everybody hop in the ships and take off. I'm paraphrasing a lot here, but they're definitely like, you know, they're starting to throw out maybe some technical jargon that the engineers can be like, yeah, that's not entirely true, but ultimately they want to meet with the patron before they agree to anything, because again, they're looking for something solid as far as a paycheck, something, because the three of them haven't been paid, and you know they need their money. They don't want the ships to go riding off into the sunset because they know the bank is going to come looking for them. In fact, at one point, Karina's like, when you guys first pulled up, I thought you were the banks coming to get them. So maybe if we do this the right way, we sit down with your boss and we can come up with a game plan that gets these people back, gets the ships under the hands of people that actually give a shit about them outside of, you know, the flight up and back. And I think at one point she actually looks at Hellwig and she's like, you know, in space, because now she's getting playful, slightly trolly.
Oh yeah, and I just look at her with the death shot eyes, like they're throwing daggers. Space, yay.
But yeah, they're definitely like, they're not ready to do anything without meeting Tankerson first.
I mean, for me, go ahead.
I'll give him a call, but I'm pretty sure he's going to say handle it yourself. That's kind of like what he told us what we're supposed to do. I mean, I'll tell you what, I do have a cred ship and a fair amount of cash in escrow, so you could probably just spend some amount of cash right now. I can't promise that, obviously, but I'll talk to him and see what we could do.
Talk to him first. Let's
I'll go find a private place and go have that conversation.
I can hear the air quotes in your voice, my friend.
I'll have a conversation.
Are you actually going to call him?
I'm going to call him.
Okay.
But he's just going to tell us no.
Here's the other thing, though. We pretty much have to deal with the bank at this point, because they're the ones that own the ships.
You or Tankerson?
They're still right. They're still a loan against them. So we're going to have some kind of conversation with the bank, and it doesn't have to be right this second either.
No.
It could be while we're on our way to Grendel.
Yeah.
And I hate to say this, repo teams can't really grab a ship if it's flying.
If it's not there?
If it's not there, yeah. And I'm just and I just hold my hands going, what the hell did I just say?
I didn't say that. Did I say that? I didn't mean to say that. Did you hear that? All right,
you can't tow it if it's not there.
Yeah. All right, yeah. No, you're gonna get Tankerson on the phone or the link?
Yeah. Ring, ring, ring. Telephone. Ring, ring, ring. Banana phone.
I'm sorry. Let me stop laughing. Mr. Wyatt. Ironically, I was getting ready to call you. What can I do for you?
Oh, fantastic. So the situation with the two LC-10s have become more complicated than it first appeared.
Of course it has. These things always happen this way. Have you ever gotten a deal to close easily on the first try?
Generally, I'm a commodities broker, and it's a lot more straightforward than this.
That's a fair point. So yes, I guess would be your answer. Anyway, please enlighten me.
The business was going under, as you told us. Unfortunately, the two business partners that owned the business emptied out all the petty cash they had and left on one of their left on one of their other ships and has fled has fled the building, literally.
That's choice of words. Okay.
The other complication is that this company was already contracted to retrieve people off on a
On
off on
Grendel,
a
yes. Yeah, that's not an uncommon thing. Yes, I
and
see
they're
where. Go ahead.
supposed to pick them up, and it's getting colder over there.
Yes, and I'm sure they don't all have their thermal underwear. That's a joke. I have no idea what they bring up there. That
The
is
crew the
concerning.
ground crew is still here. Of course, none of them none of them are executives for the company, so they can't negotiate on behalf of the sales of the ship.
Of course.
We do know what bank owns the money on the ship. So we might have to deal with them directly. I've asked one of the person working with my group to go track down the Hayabusa that they left in their flight plan to see if we can track down the business owners themselves. Yeah. The company, the leftover staff here, they're looking to have some kind of remuneration in order to have this deal go forward. Well, it's not our responsibility. Their previous bosses did leave them literally hanging up to dry. They were supposed to get a paycheck this week, and they did not get a paycheck. So if we don't give them anything, they'll be
They'll be high and dry.
irritable. They'll be irritable to our acquisition.
Yes. Once again, a few extra Libra always greases the wheels. I'll tell you what. That is a tricky situation. How long do you think it'll get you? How long do you think it'll take for you guys to come to insert coordinates here?
I don't. Do I have astrogation? I think I have astrogation.
Well, so what he's giving you is effectively the address to his business and his office.
Oh,
And his office would be located not far, but not adjacent to the starport.
it shouldn't take us like a half hour or so.
Okay. Let's do this. Let's, you know what? Tell your new friends I'm buying lunch. How's that sound?
Wonderful, sir. What restaurant would you like us to meet you at?
Just come to my office. We'll have it ordered out. Ask them
Fantastic.
if they want tacos or if they want something else. I'm feeling tacos.
All right, sir. Feeling tacos? All right, sir. I'll try to push the tacos.
All right. Anything else for me?
No, I think that's it, sir.
All right. I've got a couple of phone calls to make. Maybe I'll have some more information for you by the time you guys get here. Looking forward to it.
All right. No problem. Click, click, hang up E sounds.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm gonna drop some stuff into Discord real quick. If you guys recall, we have this one channel specifically for handouts. I'm gonna drop a couple files in there real quick. The reason why is we could play it out if you'd like, but we don't have to. But Karina has assembled a document of sorts. Information about I'm thinking and doing something at the same time. I'm literally like a computer that way. I'm sorry. Basically, she's put together a document of the people that are currently on Grendel. Because, she flew them up here, or up there. So she would have this information. Just as a quick little... as a quick little reference, this is just something that she's assembled. Basically it's her thoughts, nothing official. You're not gonna get like a standard dossier or anything like that. But she, as you guys are in the process of scooping everybody up and heading to Takerson's office, she's kind of giving you the rundown on these people, she's actually kind of looking forward to doing this because she just doesn't like the idea that her company, or rather the company that she works for, is, was this close to leaving people stranded on a whole ass other planet just because of greed or poor management or something to that effect. Um, Reese and Jim are pretty quiet. They're kind of going along, and they kind of have, not literally, but maybe in a figurative sense, they got their heads on a swivel, looking around, paying attention to what's going on around them. If that makes any sense. Insofar as like how you guys interact with each other, trying to get a feel for things, hoping that they're safe, hoping that they're not being led to a place where they're going to be shot in the back of the head.
Right. Should some of us stay here and go through pre-flight while the others go to meet with Iron Mike, or
Good question.
I asked
Uh,
Karina, I'm like, how long does it take for y'all to do the pre-flight on this?
Well, here's what I, the GM, will say. I have no idea how long it takes to pre-flight a fucking spaceship.
Right.
I'm just gonna go with something
Or
like
like
it's
how
probably
much
like
time
go ahead.
to like put in a flight request, to get us off
Yeah,
planet,
yeah,
that
the
kind of
whole the
thing.
whole official flight and all that stuff.
Right.
Probably, I don't know. Our normal, and she's gonna add. I'm gonna answer for her in character. As she starts thinking a little bit, I see. Usually I don't. Not one of us does all of it. It's, I'll do the pre-flight on one craft. Reese will do the other one, and then the bosses will handle the paperwork. But I think we got something like a 6 or 8 hour turnaround time on, when we start the paperwork process and when we get our flight clearance. I'm sure there's a much more official sounding word. I'm gonna say itinerary. Insofar, like when is your craft allowed to start taxiing out to the launch pad, when you
Right.
would actually take off, when you're expected to break orbit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Um, because obviously you can't just, I mean, you could, but you might have some very angry people on the ground. You can't just lift off whenever you want.
Oh
But
yeah.
you have to kind of schedule ahead of time. But there's sufficient traffic, but there's also enough people working to integrate sudden changes to, like, no,
Right.
we're leaving later today. When's the earliest you can get me off this planet? Because emergency type things.
Yep.
So yeah,
And
she's gonna be
speaking of
like, yeah,
that,
go ahead.
when was the last time people were in touch with the the staff and students on Grindel? Are we sure that they're okay right now?
Uh,
Yada yada.
Reese Reese kind of gives you a look, and he's like, "Yeah, that's not really our bailiwick. We just run the people up. If anybody would be in contact with the station, it would be the university itself.
Okay.
We're the bus drivers.
And was today the next official run up there to get them?
Well, that's the thing. We've done this, I don't know, 4, 5, maybe 6 rotations of this over the last handful of years. We're at that point where if we're not flying today, we would have been leaving tomorrow, but nothing has been done in the last few days, and then all of a sudden the bosses are gone.
Okay.
So what I do know is it needs to be very, very soon, like no
Yep.
later than well, our standard time says it's Wednesday. It needs to be done or start moving no later than Friday. Things are going to start getting really bad.
Oh, I was thinking tonight.
Well, the normal timeline would have probably started like last week,
Right.
but nothing's happened, and now we're getting into that literal frozen crunch time. She's make or what? Or excuse me, Reese is actually kind of trying to make a little play on words there, in case you couldn't tell.
So tell you what, I will contact the university. I will see if they can give us reason to press traffic control to let us out of here today.
Okay.
If y'all can go ahead and start pre-flight and everything.
Well, the pre-flight itself is really only about 30 to 45 minutes, assuming the craft are fueled up, and then the both pilots
Right.
will look at each other and be like, "Did you fill up the last time you were on? Did you fill up the last time you were on?" Like, no, they should be topped off. I think we're good. So yeah, pre-flight shouldn't take more than about 30 minutes.
Okay.
And that's going to be like, I don't know what all would go on pre-flight, but I'm sure there's like, APU startup and half a dozen other things that are checked out. a quick glance over like every line of hosing and whatever the case might be. Um, in case I wasn't clear, Karina is the pilot of one, Reese is the pilot of the other, Jim is
Right.
the mechanic, and Jim is kind of like whenever the two pilots say something, especially about pre-flight, Jim is nodding along like, yeah, no, that's exactly right. Yeah, 30 minutes, as long as they're topped off with fuel, and you can see him kind of counting in his head like, nope, yep, nope, no, they're both of them are full of gas, like they're ready to go, minus the startup. So
Okay. And I do my best to reassure Reese and Karina. I'm like, this isn't a grab. Okay. If this was a grab, when we outnumbered you 3-1, the grab would have happened.
yeah, I think Reese kind
Um,
of gives you that look of like, yeah, no, I think we wouldn't be having this conversation if this was a
right.
crab. My body would be sitting in the back of the hangar somewhere. And
And
Karina
so,
just rolls
but
her when he says that, and Karina's just like rolling her eyeballs and like clearly don't mind him.
right. Well, my employer was relying on my feedback about the flight worthiness of these two vessels. So I will have to pilot each vessel at some point.
How about if I give you
Um,
our log books that shows services and flight times and other things that I would normally that if I were a pilot myself would clearly indicate whether or not these were good, but I don't know the words.
no, that's great. Any maintenance documents you have to go along with them would be well received. But you know, uh, I'm definitely gonna
You need the
have to get my
hands-on.
hands on it.
Yeah.
And whoever the pilot is on that lander can be standing right beside me the whole time. I have no problems with that.
All right. Well, I guess we can get that figured out. Oh, it looks like we're here already. What is pre-check flux capacity, fluxing torrents, seating rubber bands, wound pilots, wound pilots, liquored flight attendant. Jesus Christ, Wiggles. Yeah. So we arrived back in the office, and when I prepped this, I didn't actually put any time or effort into describing what Tankerson's office would look like. So I imagine he's got kind of a warehouse building going on, right? Because obviously he acquires and or manufactures a bunch of memorabilia stuff and then gets it loaded up so it can be shipped off somewhere else. So he's in his office is going to be in a warehouse. It might be a little loud. There's forklifts wandering around, moving crates and pallets and whatever else. But when you get into the actual officey parts, it's the soundproofing is really good. You don't really hear much of the outside. There's a conference room that Tankerson will bring everybody in after the obligatory handshaking and all that. Crap, you put on shows that. No. Tankerson makes note. First he's like, Farina, Reese, Jim. I'm sorry you guys are in such a shitty situation, and he says it point blank. Like he's not even sugarcoating it. You guys are in a shitty position, and I'm sorry that your boss has treated you that way. I do appreciate you guys being open with my people and willing to sit down and discuss what we need to discuss to make this happen. Please, everybody, take a seat. I do have some food on the way. Unfortunately, I really wanted tacos. I didn't get tacos. I got pizza coming. I hope that's good enough for everybody. I'm gonna be straight up forward and honest with you. This is kind of a tricky situation, and we don't have a lot of time to work with. So I've already started the ball rolling on one or two things. First, I've already contacted the University of Elysia about their base. Llewellyn Station is the name of it. And they definitely confirmed the normal timeline to pull their students and staff back down to Beowulf would have started earlier this week, but for whatever reason, Barrier Aerospace has not been up to the task. And as we know now, probably because the bosses were planning on dipping out before the official word went out about the company going going bankrupt. The Wayland Station is staffed as the planet comes closer to the primary, and then it's sealed up and abandoned as it swings away. And right now there are, I'm going to say, oh, hold on. I actually have this number written in here somewhere. Hold on a second. There's a total of 5 students, 2 professors, 3 staff members, and a Neo dog that all need to come back down. I've conversed with the university, and the way I'm seeing it is it's going to fall on us to do it. Nobody else, for all intents and purposes, is available. Local military assets were actually on the line to start the rescue process, according to the college, but the recent pirate attacks out in the asteroid belt and further out in the system have actually, well, they fucked that up. So the military is dealing with the pirates, and the contractor that was supposed to do it, well, that's you guys. And I'm assuming you're not going to want to fly without somebody paying you. And of course, Karina and Reese are like, not to put too fine a point on it, but yeah, no, that's exactly it. We don't want to fly if we're not getting paid. We need money. Hopes and dreams don't fill our bellies, or something along those lines. So what Tankerson is going to basically suggest is that the 3 of you, the player characters, Reese and Karina, and then whoever else y'all need to take up, will head up, grab the students and staff and the dog, whatever equipment that needs to come back down, bring it back down, and then the same 3,000 Libra that you guys were getting paid will be offered as well to the 3 barrier personnel. Jim will not be going on the flight. He will do the once over before the ships leave, and then he will attend to any work that needs to be done on them after the fact when they come back. And then he leaves the floor open for questions and comments and further discussion.
So at this point, I'm gonna pull a disc out and out of my subdermal socket and hand it over to our patron and say, "This is all the financials and other stuff is able to pull. You might find this valuable for negotiate with the bank and some other people, but it definitely looks like they got cleaned out. I think the 2 the 2 jerkwads that were the bosses were dipping out and cashing out and using this as a tax haven or something else, and there's nothing left there. Nothing."
Yeah, and I think at this point, Paul Gray will speak up because we forgot to go back to him somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
Myself included, because I meant to say something. Paul Gray will come back in, and he'll be, or not come back in, but he'll speak up, and he'll be like, "Hey, excuse me. So I did check on that Hayabusa flight path. It looks like they left somewhere around about 10 o'clock last night with an outbound trajectory deeper into the French arm. It looks like they had exactly 0 intention of returning. Just to confirm previously mentioned thoughts about the bosses dipping out on you guys."
Yep.
And then Tankerson will take the information you've given him, and he'll give you actually a pretty warm smile of gratitude, because effectively what you just did was give him a full 30-round magazine to put in his pile of bullets. So he's like, "Yes, thank you. I needed that."
Right. Well, I mean, assuming that's one of the things that I'd probably, and I just look over and say that's one of the first things I start grabbing. Stuff I was taught was grab all the files you can grab, because you never know what you could stumble across. Yep.
Okay.
So I'm game to go. I don't want to go, but I'll go.
Okay. So to be clear, it's okay to steal from these people, but it's not okay to steal from him.
Is that in or out?
I mean, basically, why would you steal from your boss? Steal from everybody else and give it to the boss. The boss will always be happy with you. Steal from the boss, and he won't be happy.
I'm just like what you're. I'm just filing your morality barometer.
He's trying to figure out what's red, green, and gray, or black, white, and gray. Maybe.
My morality barometer is avoid jail as much as I can.
Besides, it's a safe bet he can pull that data from a company that's literally about to go under.
Yeah.
So technically, he did industrial espionage.
Technically,
and I'm gonna look at him.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
gonna look
go
at him going, "That's what I was paid for before I joined the Flex, and then found you guys."
ahead. He's doing exactly what his job description is: acquire information.
Yep.
Be scared of space, acquired information, eat sauerkraut.
Eat sauerkraut. Wow, that wasn't racial
And then I'm
profiling.
just gonna look at him and go, "Race? What? Who? No, whatever." And just loudly munch on my pizza.
Don't make me mad, or I'll send you to the Kraken house.
Yeah,
Wow, I think at this point, Tagris is just looking at you guys and be like, "Really? I thought we were going to be more professional than this. Can we figure out what we need to do to get these people back down?"
I'm not there. I'm actually still back at the hangar working.
Oh, did you stay back
I-
at the hangar?
Yeah, I stay
yeah,
back at the hangar, and
but
I
you
was
begin-
going to
You're
contact
doing,
the
you're
university
doing like
myself.
pre-flight, or not necessarily pre-flight, but you're doing a good solid once-over of the spacecraft.
I'm doing that. I'm contacting the university. I'm gonna, I guess, find out that Tankersley's already talked to him.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
tell them that I need some kind of official release from them to show urgency for this flight to happen, so that we can get moved up dramatically.
Oh, I knew there was
in
something. I
the
think
flight schedule.
yeah. So Tankerson was. I meant to have Tankerson mention something about that too. So basically, what the timeline will look like is by the time. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, it's roughly lunchtime, so like around noon right now. You guys could leave as early as 9 p.m. this evening. Like the paperwork isn't officially through and done and completed yet, but like the ball is rolling. Tankerson was like, so, and he'll explain this too in his little spiel before opening the floor to questions and letting you guys figure everything out. Is that he got in contact with the university, he got the scoop from them, he got whatever other information he needed, he got a hold of the. Basically, he's like, all right, well, nobody else is gonna do it. I might as well fucking do it since I have these two landers and half dozen people or more that can do all this shit for me. We'll just do it. We'll just get it done because nobody else is gonna fucking do it. And then he got a hold of the starport to find out what information they needed in order to expedite the flight clearance and all that, because he also knows that you can't just blast off just because you can. And then of course, as Milligan is trying to figure out all this information, he's getting not necessarily pushback, but he's being told like, nope, somebody's already working on that. You don't have to worry about it. We got it, or they got it, or those people over there got it. And so it's literally at this point now, as far as the meeting goes, it's really up to you guys to figure out who's going with you, what's the plan when you get there, ask whatever questions you might need, coordinate whatever you might need to coordinate, things like that.
Well, there's only 12 seats on an LC-10.
And there's two.
Right, so all 9 of us should go into one. That way we have to take 5 trips.
But there's, I don't know if that dog takes a seat or not, but that's 11 people to bring back.
No, we
Karina,
can cover the dog in saran wrap and put it on a pallet.
You can't put a dog in saran wrap. Come on, man. If the question is brought up about what the dog does or doesn't do, Karina will say that the dog, when it went up, it was in a kennel or dog carrier or whatever the fuck you want to call it.
So maybe it can
the
go
dog
in
was
cargo.
not happy, and this is a neo dog, so it's not just a dog.
Oh.
The way I've read it and interpreted it is that this is a dog that's quite a bit more intelligent, not quite uplifted. The dog was very unhappy about having to be in this kennel, but it understood why. It was just very unhappy about it, and it didn't call it a kennel; it called it a box.
At least 2 people have to stay behind. We're taking 2 with us that weren't part of our number, which puts our number at 11. Their number's at 11, so that's. Well, hang on, that may be okay still.
I don't have the floor plan open in front of me. How many people can sit on the LC-10?
There's 2 seats in the cockpit, and there's 10 acceleration cases. So seats. So there's a total of 12 acceleration seats on each plane. So it can house a total of 24 people, and we've got 22. So it'll still work.
Yeah.
with
I
everybody
mean,
going.
and obviously you don't necessarily. I'm saying this as GM, of course. You don't have to take everybody with you either.
Right.
No, I was joking about that. No, the only two people who need to go is Milligan and Alicia, and I think everyone else can stay groundside.
And I look at him like that, and I just kind of hold my hands together real quickly and go and mutter something and say, "Okay, boss, I'll stay behind."
So at this point, I'm going to get on the link with Wyatt and tell him, hey, everything I stayed here to do, it looks like is Big Mike already working on all
you
that
don't
stuff?
actually. I'm sorry. Hold on. I gotta interject. You know what you get to do?
What's that?
You get to deal with the cops.
Yeah, I'm going to hide in the bathroom when they come.
I totally forgot about the
Oh,
fucking
right.
cops. Because I rolled.
What's that?
If I rolled an 8+, whenever you guys tried to break into anything, no matter how
Yeah.
you tried to break, whether you pick a lock, break a window, whatever, it was supposed to be an 8+ to see if the security got identified or got alerted. And I rolled an
Right.
8+ for both attempts.
Right.
So you were definitely gonna get
Whatever.
cops. But I think
So
what
I've
happens.
I've already been thinking about this. Yeah.
I think what happens is that the security shows up, and they kind of do a once over, and they don't necessarily rush to come out there because it wasn't. It was more of a security alert than it was like, oh shit, somebody's trying to do some really crazy shit, like blow up a
Right.
building. It was just like a ping. Like I said, it was just a ping, kind of a low
So
threat.
like a
But-
security suggestion.
Yeah.
Yeah, as dumb as it sounds, yeah, effectively, that's what it is. So they don't rush out there. You don't get like SWAT rolling out or anything. You get a couple of squad cars or the 2300 equivalent with like 2 or 3 guys that do a walk around. And of course, by this point, you guys have already taken off, and they see the one door's been tampered with. They see the other door popped open. They see the fact that the office is effectively vandalized because it's
Yep.
all in disarray. Thurgor, are you serious about hiding in the bathroom, or are you going to
No,
actually greet
I'm
them?
not serious about hiding in the bathroom, but I'm going to make sure I'm dirty, okay, and got my sleeves rolled up and everything. And I'm just going to be like going about business, checking out one of those aircraft, one of
Okay.
those landers,
All
This
right.
is a 2.
and I'm just
Mhm,
and I'm just
mhm.
going to let them approach me.
Oh yeah. No, they show up and be like, hey, why don't you come down here for a minute?
This tube needs more grease.
Hello,
I
I
said,
know you
hey,
hear
what's
me.
going on?
Hey, now come on down here for a minute. We got an alert we had to check out. What's going on?
I said, I'm here from, and I give them the name of the bank, checking this lander out. This company is folded at this point. The
Was that
owners
you
have
that popped the
fled.
locks?
No, I didn't pop any locks. Doors were open when I came in here.
Convenient.
So a couple of the other employees were here just a little bit ago. You've just missed them. They went to dinner. They should be back soon. And I'm here just checking out these ships for the bank to make sure they still are holding their
You
value.
got some ID on you?
Sure, but I'm like a contractor, so I mean I don't have like bank ID.
No, I just need your name.
Okay, I tell them what my name is.
Yeah,
Joseph Milligan.
it's kiss my ass.
No, it's Joseph Milligan.
Oh man, I'm so tempted for one of these guys to have watched that press conference.
I
Oh
know,
my
me too.
God. Oh, do I
Yeah.
troll
roll
you
some
with-
dice and figure out if they do.
Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah,
There's,
it's,
you know what? Go ahead, make yourself a deception roll.
What a
Swedish.
deception roll.
You're deceiving them about where you're coming from. You told them your name, but
All right.
so you go with an 8+.
Yeah, that's
You got a
not
6. What do you got in
a whole lot.
deception?
Probably nothing.
Yeah, so that means
Um,
it's going to be a -3.
I've got diplomat.
Ooh, okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, there's so much in common. Like the fact that I lied to you.
I'll let you
But
throw in some
at
social
best-
on that.
Oh, the social's not going to help me any. So that's either going to be a 7 or an 8, depending on whether I use social or intelligence.
Well, these guys they rolled a 4 with a +2 investigation, so it looks like
good.
you may have pulled the wool over their
Alright.
eyes. You kind of get that look. One of them kind of gives you that look, and like, I really hope your story checks out there, Mr. Milligan. I
I
really
might
hope
just
it
hang
checks
around.
out.
Like I said, they're just at dinner. They should be back for, pretty soon. We're supposed to be getting flight authorization to take these ships out of here tonight.
All right, we'll be
That's what the
watching.
bank wants to do anyway.
We'll be watching, and so they'll leave, and then one of the
I'll
squad
ask them
cars.
as they're
Go ahead.
going. I'll ask them. I said, "Do they need to stop somewhere on their way in? Because I can let them know."
No. We'll be watching. Don't worry.
All
So
right.
two of them will hop into one of the squad cars or whatever and take off. The other one will get into his squad car and kind of pull off a little bit
Yep.
to the side where he can kind of see a little bit better of a vantage point to see what's going on.
He's gonna cop a squat.
Yeah,
Uh,
he's gonna check it out for a little while.
and so I just get back to business, or at least pretending like I'm
I
doing
mean, you got to
business.
play the role, right?
Yep.
All right, let's go back to
Oh,
the
no,
other
This
guys.
pipe has too much grease.
Yeah, this dude has too much grease. God damn it! Why can't I get these tubes right? All right, so for the rest of you at in Tankerson's office, what's the plan moving forward? We've got. It looks like we'll have some flight authorization coming through sometime around 9 o'clock tonight. We got to figure out ass to seat rosters. I just totally used a straight legit military term, by the way. That's not a joke. That's a legit commonly used phrase.
Yeah, no. So it's gonna be Milken and Alicia that goes fly up there. So everyone else on the ground, I guess we'll just start. We'll help clean up.
Hey, Wiggles,
And,
I don't know what happened there. Either you got a loose cable or you turned too far away from your mic.
All right, is this better?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, man.
All right, I'm sorry. No worries. So I guess we'll come back and we'll like help clean up, and then we'll also just like start doing like inventory just
Uh-huh.
to see if there's anything else to also acquire.
Yeah. So on that note, I'm actually trying to find my specific notes for that part. I
So
actually have this.
everybody's back now.
Yeah, it sounds like everybody's in the hangar that is going.
Okay.
On that note, let me get a list of who is going. Let me find a spot in my notes for that list. Here we go.
So
Let's do it here.
it's two of the people who work for Bearer Aerospace.
Yeah,
Milligan's
Reese
gonna be
and
flying.
Farina.
Yeah, and Milligan's gonna be flying one of them, and Alicia's gonna come along just to like also
Milligan,
check shit
and
out.
then A Wyatt. And what is G Wyatt going to be doing?
Hey, he's just gonna putting like price tags or everything else on in the inventory in the hangar to buy afterward.
See, this looks like it's worth 49 Libra. This is probably 37. No, 38.
I give you 50 cents.
Okay, so what I'm looking at for player characters in the next session, because we're kind of getting down to the end of the timeline here for tonight. I'm looking at Thurgore's character going. I'm looking at Wiggles playing his character's wife next week.
Ooh.
Unless George Wyatt is actually going on the flight too.
No.
He'll stay and suffer under the crushing gravity of Beowulf.
Yeah, I will.
You can drop him off on a station on the way out.
That is a thing. Well, I mean, you could. That takes us to Charles and Fritz Hellwig. Is he gonna go, or is he gonna tactically bitch out?
He is going to say that he needs to stay behind and do additional research on all the files and other stuff like this around here. So,
You're making up some bullshit reason to stay on the ground.
Right.
Okay.
Space is not my friend.
Okay. All right. Well, we also have 3 Marines. We have a flight navigator, and we have a commo signal guy.
Right, and 2 turtle doves.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
Wait. How many people do we need to rescue?
There are a total
11.
of 10. 10 and a dog.
10 and a dog.
10 and a dog. Okay. And your little dog, too. All right.
I got that one.
Yeah. So I mean, you guys could take the Marines, and I could play those next week.
Oh, I'm taking the Marines.
Yeah, because you don't know what's there on the ground.
Yep.
So.
Okay, so we got Spearman, We got Aelo, and we got Blaine going. Is Paul Gray or Marshall Tran going? Or Tillman, for that matter, whose first name I can't remember right now.
Does
I'm sorry.
does Tran have any pilot skill?
I would imagine having some navigation. So the navigator rank / position was one step up from yours, so I imagine he's got at least a little bit of piloting capability.
Okay. Then let's make sure he does go, and he'll be on whatever ship I'm not, in case something happens to the pilot, that we have a backup pilot.
Okay. And then lastly, I believe, is the steward Tillman. Or are we
That
going
one's
to
pretty-
drop him from your little group roster altogether?
I wouldn't do
I
it just yet, but
Yeah, let him get the
Yeah.
3,000K from this job. He'll help
Yep.
the inventory and clean up and sort stuff and make
Yeah,
sandwiches.
no, that makes
and
sense. That makes sense. All right, so yeah, so then that means that we'll have George Wyatt, oops, and whatever his name is, Tillman. You guys will be effectively you'll be inventorying the company's equipment. Is that what you're doing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I mean,
Oh,
going
along
through
with
maybe.
along with you with Jesus Christ, along with Hellwig's investigating and files and stuff.
Yep.
Inventories, BA equipment.
Because I mean, who knows? They could have been on contract, but the fact that these guys beat feet out of here so fast,
It could be something more.
yeah.
so I do want to talk to Reese and Karina
Uh-huh.
about the conditions on Grendel, especially like
yeah,
flying, weather, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was trying to find my. Oh, there it is. There's the note right there. So before I got into figuring out who's going to be where for next week, I was trying to find that specific note. So this is what I actually have in my notes. Grendel is an incredibly cold and icy, rocky planet. Think of trying to work Jesus Christ. Think of trying to work in Antarctica, and that should be a sufficient starting point as far as trying to figure out what you want to do or what kind of gear you want to bring. And it's only going to get worse as well as the planet moves further and further from the local primary. Note that the base can be winterized to stand up during the off months, but the people on the station don't have the supplies or capability in general to survive for literal months until things warm up enough to get them off the planet once more. So basically, kind of similar to Antarctica, icing over. What do they call it? When you stay for the Antarctic winter, it's ice over.
Yeah, they ice over and winter over.
Winter over, that's it. Yeah. So, but in this case, the station itself stays. They don't shut the entire they shut it all down, but they don't
Right.
dismantle the station. Like the station is a permanent fixture effectively, but they don't keep it manned because too many things could go wrong. And it's just safer to not. If that makes any sense.
Oh yeah. So what do they have on these landers? Since they make this trip all the time, what do they have on these landers, like cold weather clothing, and do they have any backup power generators, with heating elements and all that kind of stuff in case
No,
something
they
happens and
have
we
effectively they really only have your basic emergency kits, repair kits. Uh, you know, think of what would normally be on an aircraft
yeah.
as far as say what FAA says you have to have, and that's basically what these guys have. They have the legally mandated requirements of rescue and repair capabilities, but they don't have anything more specialized than that. And they don't have anything specialized for Grendel outside of, they've got room for, that you can see on the floor on one of the landers, they got that spot for the dog's crate where they can bolt it down and strap it down for, the flight and everything. But
Right.
beyond that, they don't really have anything special or specific.
Okay. Around here, are there any small MHD power generators?
Are you talking about on the local market of Aliceport?
No, I'm talking about in this hangar.
Not in the hangar. You could probably
No?
find one in the local market.
Okay.
To be fair, by the way, just for clarity's sake, to this point, there has been no indication of this being a shit has hit the
Right.
fan.
Right.
It's just literally, these people are supposed to be coming back by now, and if they stay longer, it's going to be a big problem. But for the time being, this should be a simple matter of go up, gather up the people, whatever equipment's coming back, and bring them back down.
Right,
Mhm.
and that's
Should
why the
be.
GM is making so careful who are going up, and what do they have.
No, I just honestly, all bullshit aside, that's a funny joke, and I'm right there with you. But truthfully, I am looking at this in a how many seats are there, how many seats are filled, because I want you guys to get that kind of in your head as a regular routine type deal for when a mission like this comes up moving forward in the campaign.
Good cover. I'm okay.
I mean, if anything,
Oh
I'm gonna know
man.
that there. So if on that note, and again, this is strictly as a joke, there's what 24 seats available, but you know damn well you're
Yep.
not gonna need them all because everybody's gonna be dead by the time you get back. That's what always happens in a sci-fi horror movie. Come on.
Oh.
No, but one little girl will survive.
Mm-hmm. One little girl and her cat.
Yeah.
We'll put her in charge.
She's mission command now. Anything else? Because we're getting to, it's about quarter till, so we need to start moving generally into the wrapping side of things.
Yeah.
Is there anything
I was
else you guys
just
want to get into real quick?
no. It's a
No.
cold planet. There's always, that potential of that early storm or that whatever,
Yeah.
that can happen.
Yeah, and as far as like official information for Grendel that, and by official I mean information that you could find with a half decent link Google search.
Right.
The largest life form are basically multicellular. Effectively, they're little worms.
Okay.
My information doesn't give much more detail than that, but there's rumors of larger creatures on the planet, but there's no empirical data. And people have been keeping an eye on Grendel for as long as there's been people on Beowulf. So, take it, you know, Bigfoot might be real, but there's a lot of stories, but there's no real data. And use that as a guide.
Okay. The power hookups that are on the LC-10, I
Mhm.
asked Karina and Reese if they're sufficient to reach the station from the landing pad in case we need to tie in ship's power to station power.
Ooh, they'd have to. I'm speaking as Karina. They'd really have to have some long ass cables. That's probably what do you think, Reese? Like 400 meters from the landing pad to the halves. Yeah, they'd have to have some really long cables. I guess maybe if they had the cables, they could do it. I don't. I think the ships would be sufficient power source. But they've also got utility vehicles up there that if they really needed power, they could probably just slave off of one of those. I don't know if I should have used the word slave in that case, but
Nope, too late, canceled.
Okay.
yeah,
Well.
exactly. It's all over Twitter and everywhere else. I'm fucked.
All right. So that's definitely possible.
Demonetized.
Is there enough cable in this hangar to
No.
reach that distance?
No, I'm
No.
picturing well, it's because I'm picturing like in my head, I'm picturing something like uh you know, a cable the size of your fist and
Right.
500 meters or more length.
Yep. Big around as your arm, and yeah.
Yeah, like that's
Okay.
some hefty ass cable right there. But also, I don't know what it would look like in the 2300s. What kind of power cable systems might be? So
It's Wi-Fi.
it's Wi-Fi power.
They finally figured out the Tesla power.
Yep.
They figured out how to microwave it to each other.
We have our
Oh
own little
crap! Electricity needs a firmware update.
Just
we
needs
have
a
our
firmware.
Arky bar on the ball on the top of the ship there,
Yeah,
sparking
there you
away.
go. Karina
Okay,
does mention something about like you could always try to move the ships closer to the halves, but it gets really touch and go because the landing pad itself is set specifically for the ships, and the ground adjacent to the halves isn't exactly the most rough or solid, especially this time of year when there's probably going to be a bunch of storms or recent storms and mud and
Right.
muck. We obviously don't want the landers coming in, landing at a really weird angle and then sinking further into the mud, making it even more challenging to get out.
Yeah. Normal vac suit, is that going to protect us enough from cold, or
As
do we
long
need
as it
something
doesn't,
on
so the
top of that?
atmosphere is It's not a standard atmosphere. I forget exactly what it is. I want to say it's like methane atmosphere.
Sexy.
Yeah, I'd have to double check the book. But anyway, it's definitely methane something. Because there was methane and there was something else in the air, or because of the storms, it makes radio communication incredibly difficult at certain times. But a vac suit should keep you warm enough, but I wouldn't recommend being stuck out in the weather for any longer than necessary.
Okay.
Because I think I'm speaking out of character now, and I think at some point there's a certain matter of insulation that
Right.
your vac suit is good in space because it doesn't get wet and have wind rippling through it, for lack of a better way to express it. And that probably doesn't make sense, but I think you get where I'm generally trying to go.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
No. Yeah, I mean, there's points in life where it doesn't matter how much warm gear you're wearing. Eventually, you start getting cold, no matter what.
Yeah. That eventually speeds up when things start getting wet. But theoretically, a vac suit should be 100% sealed off. But also, it's going to be dry on the outside.
Like if the wind is blowing and it's pushing up against your skin, then that skin has no insulating air around it, so it's going to get cold really quick and potentially
exactly. And that's
freeze
where
inside your vac suit. Yeah.
And that's where you start running into some of the problems. So your vac suit, I'm gonna just kind of GM wave my hand a little bit. Your vac suit's probably good for a few hours. Anything more than that, you're gonna want something a little bit more strenuous or extensive than that.
Okay.
There is something in the book, a suit specifically designed for Grendel, or a more special suit that is effective on Grendel, and we can hand wave that there's probably a few suits laying around on the landers or in the hangar.
Or at the facility.
Oh, definitely at the facility. Definitely, absolutely. That's a requirement because, they part of their studies is they have to go outside the station and wander off. Like there's the station, and all this information. I'm not afraid to share it with you guys because it would be available if you ask the right people at the right time. Like there's a big track vehicle, there's a little track vehicle, there's a couple of sleds. There's some UAVs that are up there, but they don't get used because they're not very good in the weather. So these people would be, they're up there. These guys are up there for, environmental studies, weather studies, biology, botany, things like that. So they actually have to go outside the station, but because the planet itself doesn't have a breathable atmosphere, they have to be in a suit, and this time of year, it's starting to get really fucking cold. Any other time of the year when the station is manned, it's not terribly cold outside, but you still want to be in some sort of environmental suit because, rocks are really jagged and pointy and can break the seal. Storm is a storm is a storm. It's just a matter of what the temperature is that determines what kind of storm it is. Stuff like that.
Okay.
Anything else?
Did the ship's troops have any personal weapons? Or was all of their
guns a piece? Chow.
They got the big foam fingers. Does that count?
No.
Sorry. Honestly, I didn't even think about that because I've alluded to them basically coming from small towns and stuff like that. So they probably have personal weapons that may or may not be with them anymore. And neither of them come from an overly wealthy background, so they probably don't own any of their own suits or anything.
Peasants.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, basically.
That's the other thing. Anybody that gets on one of these landers needs a suit.
Yeah.
And if they're coming, their skill set, even though it may not get used, is of the martial variety. And so we at least need to have the tools necessary for them to use them if the need arises.
Yeah.
So if they don't have any personal weapons, we may need to make some kind of run very quickly about space suits and weapons.
I think if this matter were brought up to Tankerson, he'd kind of give you that look of, yeah, I see where you're going with this. I can get something a bit more, what's the word I'm looking for here? I get some better quality, maybe in a few days. But I tell you what, take this card, head on down to the local, I don't know, not Cabela's, and see what kind of stuff you can find for the time being. And
We go to the Burnling Coat Factory and get a spacesuit.
yeah, the Burling Coat Factory. That's what I'm gonna call it now. New lore established, Wiggles. The Burling Coat Factory. And maybe grab some half decent rifles and a half decent vac suit for the three of them.
Okay.
I feel like Blaine would have like a little, at least a holdout pistol, but some small pistol, not like some big 45 kind of thing, but
Right.
like a little 9mm or something like that.
And I mean, I don't think we need to like arm ourselves up for
No,
a
I mean, you
3-month
never know what you're
engagement
gonna
or
get though.
anything. Exactly. But I mean,
Doesn't hurt to be prepared.
it is where their skill set lies, so we should
Yeah.
at least put the tools in their hand to.
Yeah, and you're going. I mean,
Yeah.
arguably, and I'm thinking more hypothetically here than anything else. Arguably, the mission is go up there, grab these people, bring them back. You bring a
Yep,
couple of guys that are
right.
more martially oriented, just in case some shit is weird.
Yep.
Just in case there is some alien xenomorph looking thing out there. And then they're the first ones to die, and everybody else has to figure out how to get back without dying.
Shoot the worms! Shoot the worms!
Yeah, the little 3mm long worms. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up. In this final chance, anybody got anything else they want to address before we wrap?
Nope.
I think I'm good.
Thurgor, you're usually the one with 101 questions.
I'm ready to take off.
All right. Yeah, you're like, let's go save some people. Charles, feedback and closeout. What do you got for us?
I think one, like we joked, I bought some stuff when we were doing character creation, so it was finally nice to kind of break in and use that equipment.
Yeah.
It was kind of fun to start using some of the skills that I had gone during character creation, especially the spycraft stuff. And I think this setup was awesome. I kind of had a feel that it wasn't going to be a shootout, but it was definitely going to have to be a wheel and deal type of situation. And this is a little more interesting. So we'll see where this goes. And enjoy your flight, guys, because I'm going to stay on the ground.
We're going to talk you into it before it's time to go.
I'm not drinking no milk.
I was about to say, or we'll just do that other thing, and somebody will sneak up behind you with a syringe.
Yeah, there you go.
And you
That's
just
another.
wake
Hey,
up halfway to Grindel.
listen, they got BA. They got BA on the plane a half dozen different ways, man. But they always got them on there.
Wait. Does this smell like ether to you?
That's right.
Exactly. All right. Anything else, Charles?
No. Peace out.
All right. Wiggles. Feedback and closeout, please.
No one lets me do white collar crimes.
That's because your white collar crimes might get everybody locked up forever.
No, it would have been fine. It would not have known. Actually, for how the situation played out, this is not an appropriate time to pull that scam. But, but still, I want to do white collar crimes. And yeah, nest egg. I want to retire.
Anything else, man?
No, I think that's it. Yeah, no. Excited to play as my wife.
It will be interesting because we never actually established any specific skills except maybe just giving her kind of a obligatory +2 or +3 on anything engineering related. So
I got her. I gave her. I setted her out. She's in the travel channel.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. All right.
I even wrote out her background.
Yeah, I remember the background. I didn't remember the stats, but that's fine. I may have even pinned it and still forgotten. So, listen, my memory is not trustworthy. Anything else?
No, that's it. I guess. That's fine.
Thurgor, what you got? Feedback and closeout.
Closeout. Let's see. Feedback. Everything was great. Closeout. I know my piloting roles have been really good up to this point.
But you're not going to be plugged in now.
Maybe we still have to make that roll. It being a T11 ship, there's still a 3 to 6 chance that it might have those hookups.
Nope, it's gonna be the. I'm gonna make the GM call now. The cockpits were refitted because the plug-in shit just didn't work right.
Oh, it works better than anything. So anyway, this will be the time I crash land on the planet, is what I'm saying.
It could be. I mean, I haven't thrown any modifiers in the mix yet. You might get hit with a massive storm and you got to fly your way through it and you just get fucked by wind shear.
Yeah. Plus, let's see how many burns does that thing have. 8 burns. That's not too bad. I can get myself out of some trouble with 8 burns.
So said the
Alright.
9-life cat.
Yeah, I know.
You got anything else for us, man?
Nope, that's it.
All right. Well, my friends, that is it for tonight. Join us again next week as we make the trip to Grendel and we see what kind of piloting capability Milligan actually has and what sort of sedatives will be needed to get Hellwig on the spacecraft and onto a whole ass other planet. Coming up this week, we've got 2 matches scheduled for the Greyland Trios League. They will be recorded on Saturday and Sunday, so look for the videos to be released on YouTube Sunday and Monday mornings, as well as, of course, Solasta with Friends on Monday, and on Tuesday the 19th will be the live stream doubleheader of the last 2 matches for the week for the GTL, and I can't remember exactly who's what. I think we've got Industrialists versus Opposition and Wolverines versus Nationals, I think. I don't know. If you stay in the Discord, you can find out all that stuff out because a lot of times I put stuff out and then I forget about it. And then somebody else has to remind me or I have to look at my notes. That's usually how that works. But thanks for stopping by. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you did like it, please consider liking, subscribing, commenting, sharing, and
A
also
shield with threads.
oh, fuck the shield friends thing. Whatever. A friend is always welcome at the shield. There you go, Rev. I know you're out there watching somewhere. Did that one just for you. But yeah,
Watching,
if you
waiting.
enjoyed it, click the buttons, get on the Discord, hang out with the crew. It's always a fun time. I can't wait to look at the memes and gifs. That'll be my next thing to do here in a moment. Anyway, if I keep talking, I'll be rambling. It won't make any sense. So let's get out of here. Be safe out there, my friends. We'll see you again next time. Be safe.